Let's go right back to the very beginning.
Oof.
Tell us about your childhood. What was that like? What was it
Oh,
like growing up as Ritchie?
I grew up in the northeast of England. Dad was a miner and an engineer. Mother worked as a civil servant, and I've got two older siblings, brother and sister. I had quite a picturesque childhood, if I'm honest. Went to Disneyland, went to Cornwall caravans. I've got very few complaints about my actual young childhood. They tried the best, parents do what they can. Um, and, I wasn't exposed to anything too terrible when I was little. Um, and I think my mother's words were she knew I was different from my brother very early on because I think there was a little bit of the autism, to be honest, because I'm diagnosed with autism, and I just couldn't do things like my brother could. Like I couldn't touch dirt. I just didn't like slimy things. I don't want to say the word effeminate. I wasn't really effeminate. I was just not masculine in the slightest,
Hmm.
and I had no real interest in rough and tumble and all that sort of thing. And I was more artistic and quiet, shy. I would always prefer to like hang around with like me mother rather than going with me dad somewhere because I don't know. I was just that way, and I don't want to say I was like this ultra feminine kid who couldn't cope as a boy because it's not true. I enjoyed diggers and Tonka trucks and all that sort of thing. And basically, I think all it was is I was just a little bit autistic, and very very hyper obsessive. And at about the age 6 or 7, I really, really wanted to be a ballerina because it looked fun, right? Not because I wanted to be a girl. And so I was very persistent about that. And it backfired me in a very, I would say, like, it was a little bit traumatic for me, like how that happened. And all I got taught was, boys don't do this sort of thing. And I was just very confused. And then it become very um, worried about being gay, even from a young age. I was like, I don't want to be gay. This means I'm gay. I don't want that. And I was crushing on some of my male friends as well. And those crushes never went away. I did have crushes on girls too, but they weren't as intense or frequent as my crushes on like male peers. And I very quickly developed, and I'd always had OCD from a quite a young age, which is quite concurrent with autism, and the OCD just got way out of control. And I had a very, very delayed puberty as well, which is a big factor in this, I think. From the transitioners and detransitioners I've spoke to, they either have a very delayed puberty or a very early puberty. And I think that difference between you and your peers is like comes through. And because I was quite quiet and nerdy and reserved, I had a rough time in school, to be honest. I was always missing social cues and stuff like that. And essentially, it just got really, really bad. My parents went through a divorce as a teenager, and my little perfect life came crashing down. And I had all these ongoing mental health issues. I was obsessed with the internet, and I was using the internet in like 98, 99. It was just a friggin' hellhole. It was a different kettle of fish from the internet that you have today. And by the time I had a horrible time in high school, awful time in high school, and by the time I was a young adult, I was completely agoraphobic and I couldn't go outside. I had crippling OCD, crippling. I hate using words like depression because it's such a brush over word, but I just couldn't look after myself. I just wasn't a happy person, and I just thought I can't go on like this. I thought I'm not going to make it past my mid 20s because I just literally just couldn't keep up with the OCD was so overtaken. So by that I mean like I had a lot of insatiable ruminations about questions that can't be answered. Like for instance, it started like ideating over hell, and then it started ideating over being gay, and then ideating I must be a woman because that's the only thing that makes sense. That and it was such a weird rewrite, and that's something I'll get on to is retconning and rewriting your history, which is something what active autogynephiles do. Um,
I have severe OCD, so I know what the struggles are, and that's, I'm sorry, nobody wants to like wish that on anyone.
yeah, and the thing is, I got diagnosed very early 20s before I went to the gender clinic. And as I got diagnosed, I got referred to the gender clinic, and I was like, OCD is not a problem. I'm trans. Believe me, I'm trans. And I was just basically obsessed with the idea because I've got really, really terribly strong OCD. I'm still heavily medicated on it now. I've been on very high dose of sertraline for many years, and I can't come off it. I've tried so many times, I just can't. It's amazing how well it works. And I know some people give SSRIs a hard time and they are overprescribed, but for things like that, it was just a godsend. Just
Yeah.
being able to function normally. Like, I couldn't walk up the stairs probably without taking 10 steps back 100 times. And don't get us wrong, I was like fit because I was doing a lot of ridiculous things. And now I'm not as fit as I used to be because I've cured most of it. But it was so debilitating. And by the time I was in my mid-20s, I was like, I need to sort this out. So around the time I was seeing a psychologist for the OCD stuff, a gay man at work transitioned, and I was like, oh, this makes a lot more sense. Gender dysphoria, you know, the bland definition, which is so bland. And I was like, yeah, this is the problem. This is why I like men. This is why I wanted to be a ballerina and ideated over being like a girl. I never had like genital dysphoria, but that's another thing we'll get into. And sorry, I shouldn't read the chat because I can't focus, right? I can't. This is how I know I'm not. I can't multitask, right?
Yeah, I know it's hard, just especially when you see it like going up and down. Yeah.
And I don't use TikTok, so anyway, I'm just gonna try and look away. That's what I'm doing. I'm not avoiding eye contact. I'm just avoiding looking at the chat. And quite essentially, I went into the gender clinic, and the first question I asked was, "Do you want genital reassignment surgery?" And they filled me head with all this crap about being an ideal candidate because I had trackable, verifiable.
That was the first question they asked you?
First question: have you considered gender reassignment surgery? And I was like, what? That's crazy. No.
That
And
is crazy.
I was like, nah,
Wow.
dude. Like, I don't think I've got any like dysphoria and that. And this is kind of one of the reasons why I want to talk to someone because I can't work out what the hell's going on. And they just kept calling us like this ideal candidate because I had this clear, trackable history that was verified by my family. It wasn't just me telling the story. I had things on my medical records that indicated like distress and stuff like that. And it was all very much like, this is the answer, and I will listen to the experts and I'll tell them absolutely everything. So I did, and the more I told them, the more it reaffirmed that was actually the reason I felt this way was because actually I was meant to be a woman. It was really insane, dude. Like the more I think about it. Aside from being totally unwell, I was also addicted to substances and drink and all sorts. So I was not of stable mind, whatever. And I just took that as an out, and like a lot of people do. That's what happened.
Yeah. I don't know about you, but I think all of these comorbidities that you have, you know, mental health issues, depression, OCD, autism, substance abuse, alcohol abuse, they get lumped under, well, it's attached to your dysphoria. So when you get treated for your dysphoria, it's going to cure all of these issues.
Yeah, it was a little bit of that, and also we'll have to talk about the chemical changes that you undergo when you take estrogen, because estrogen influences serotonin production in the gut lining. About 98% of your serotonin in your body is made in your gut and your fat lining. it's not anywhere else. And because you take estrogen, it massively increases that. So you do get this wave of calmness. And the thing with OCD is it's a result of a lack of serotonin from, being overly anxious all your life and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a bit of a placebo effect when you're thinking, oh, this is the greatest thing, it works. It's why a lot of the trans positive surveys always try and survey people from the first 6 to 12 months when the quote unquote euphoria is kicking in, because they're literally high off the hormones, and the women who are taking testosterone are experiencing what a natural steroid feels like, which is high energy, high libido, and no periods. So all of a sudden they're really happy too. So immediately the false positives are shining through, and everyone thinks this is a great
Did
thing.
did they check you for any like other? I know you talked about the OCD, but did they check for any other comorbidities? They
No,
just
I
were
was,
like, no, you're trans.
yeah, pretty much. I kept bringing up things that I was like, maybe it's this, maybe it's that, and they're like, listen, this is what a trans person is. This is what this person is. You are clearly this person. You've got, and it was just the same thing, and it was this battle between the doubt in the back of my mind, and to them, because there was a voice within saying, maybe this isn't for me, and I shouldn't be doing this, but at the same time, I've got all these people rallying around us, and me as well. I really wanted it to be true as well. So there was that part too. Big part is the part I played. I don't want to undermine that. I would really wanted this to be true, because I just needed a goddamn solution for all the OCD, man. It was just so crippling, and for a while it did lessen, but it came back with a vengeance.
Mhm.
At which point I was already on SSRIs, and then I went on the highest dose during transition because it got worse.
So you had
Yeah,
Got
mentioned.
worse as you transitioned. Sorry.
No, on you go.
It worsened as you progressed in your transition.
yeah, definitely. It got worse. And I think part of that was I became very obsessive about voice passing, because I did the voice and everything, and that was exhausting. I just became extremely obsessed with looking the part, and I was very obsessed with what I was eating and stuff. Like I just stopped eating basically, because I've always had eating disorders my whole life. I've been big and small and big. Now I'm in my thick era again, which is fine. But
I love that thick era.
thick era. Um, and it's always been a little bit of a challenge, and that was another thing with the whole. You've got dysphoria. Actually, it was just I was very I was very like different from my peers for a long time, and then all of a sudden I just grew so quick, so fast, and I just wasn't. My brain just short circuited. It was like, what the fuck is happening? Like puberty is difficult for anyone, but
Yeah.
you go from being like the shortest one always to all the people that pushed you around one year. I'm now looking over them, and I'm thinking, right, what was that? You know what I mean? So,
So you had
um,
mentioned about a track record that was backed up by doctors, doctor files. Was it medical records? Sorry, and also parents. What were are you able to tell us a little bit about the track record? Sorry, my cat is playing with my headphone wire.
what do you mean? Like the evidence of dysphoria? It was
Yes.
just corroborating things I'd said about, the ballerina thing, the dressing up, the play, just all the little intricate behaviors that would have meant that I was a girl and not a boy, that were kind of cherry picked. But and it was really weird because all the stuff that would reinforce that I wasn't was just kind of excluded. Um, but yeah.
Yeah, I'm just thinking about when I got my diagnosis and how they done the exact same. So it's scary to see that it hasn't changed over the years.
I
Um,
got diagnosed like 7 times over the years, because because you have to do 2 psychiatric diagnoses before the surgery.
Yeah.
And when they kept saying, because I was getting therapy at the gender clinic, and one of the conditions was I keep getting therapy if I'm going to get the surgery, but if I'm not, you just kind of get discharged. So I was like, yeah, sure, I'll have the surgery and then just cancel it. And because I kept doing this over the years, that I get as re-diagnosed as transsexual, whatever, gender dysphoria, because it was like 2014. And then I got discharged in Jan 2020, but I actually had the surgery in 2018. And by then, I remember when I bought in and I was like, yeah, this is it. This is going to solve the non-existent issue that I have. And I don't know, I was just a fucking retard. Excuse my French. I don't want to get your life taken down, but I was very flippant about it. I was very mentally unwell and unstable. They shouldn't have ever given us it, to be honest. It's that simple.
So you
And
can't say that
fortunately-
R word again, because you'll get the life flagged.
Yeah, I'm sorry about that. Okay. Yeah. Oh shit. Can I say shit? Yeah. I
Yes, you can
Yeah.
swear, just nothing that could be deemed as a slur.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
If
visibility
there we are.
restriction, I need to remove you. Come back up.
Oh.
It's so funny how like you can say so many things and
I
then you
know.
can't say others. It's crazy.
I don't know if Ritchie has another account or not. If he can't get back up on that account, I'll send him details for one of mine. TikTok, this is a live about educational purpose. For educational purposes only. Some words might not be PC, but, you know, stop being a snowflake.
Yeah.
Right, let me see, Ritchie. There we go. It's not flagged back up, so we'll play it by ear. Worst case is I just send you one of my accounts and you just log in with one of my accounts anyway. Right, okay.
There we are.
He's
Sorry
back.
about that.
It happens all the time on a daily basis.
Yes.
We're always getting restrictions.
All the time.
Yeah, just down. Yeah, and I'm sure there's going to be some salty burgers who are going to be listening in.
Yeah. Right, so let's break it down, right? Let's get into a kind of timeline effect. So what age were you when the referral went in, and how did the referral go in? Was it a self-referral? Was it a referral from GPs?
Oh yeah, they're all self-referrals. Every referral at the gender clinic is a self-referral. There's never any doctor who does it on their own volition. So I was 25 when that came through and started the hormones at 26 and had surgery 2 days before my 31st birthday. So I was well in the adult range. I was just a hard R word adult, I guess, who had a lot of issues.
What age was your son? Sorry?
I was really 31. It was like 2 days before my 31st birthday.
Okay. So when you
And I'm 38 now, so
You're 38.
I'm 39 in May.
38, right. So when you got your referral put in, were you just placed on a waiting list and not touched again
Yeah.
until your first appointment? How did that look?
Yeah. So what happened with me is I knew there was this massive waiting list. It was like 2 years. And one of the older cross-dressers on one of the forums, because I didn't realize that's what they were, but that's what they were, directed me to something called the Interim 2013/14 protocols. And basically what it said was, this was NHS guidance, and that you could start hormones with the NHS if you had 2 psychiatric opinions to sign you off. So what I did was I was directed to a private clinic, which I can't say, which because they're part of the lawsuit, and they give me, after 2-day appointment, like literally 2 days, got a full diagnosis, and that was used to with the NHS to start us on the testosterone. So the puberty blockers are the same for everyone. The anti-androgens, they're a GnRH antagonist. So what that does is it stops your body producing and processing testosterone. So it's the same drug. It's like Lupron, whatever. So I started that first, but the deal was, because I hadn't been seen by the gender clinic, they wouldn't start us on estrogen until like later in the year, which is what happened. And obviously that was genocidal to me. Like, my main point was that they stopped the testosterone because the testosterone was poison. That was one of my mantras. Now, the thing with contamination and OCD, I don't know if you know this, but self-contamination is a big obsession with OCD sufferers. Some of them manifest it very obviously through hand washing. For me, it was like contamination of thought. So the idea that I had contamination of body through testosterone sent me wild, dude. I was going crazy. I was like, I can't take this. Like, I'm turning into this monster. But the reality is, and this is the thing with puberty blockers in males as well, males, even at a very young age, they don't go through puberty, but they go through a bone development that sets from when they're like 2 or 3 years old, and then another one when they're just before puberty, then during puberty, and then slightly after. So I'd passed all those markers already. So realistically, it wasn't really going to make any difference to anything. But in my mind, it was like the poison, and I had to stop it. So I got a payday loan for that. I don't know if you know what that is, which is basically like a high interest short term loan to get the diagnosis. And I didn't care. I was going into debt. I was earning minimum wage essentially, and I did that. And then the NHS prescribed the rest after, and yeah. So that's pretty much how that happened. The surgery thing is something that I've tried to like make sense of, but a lot of it is really nonsensical. I obviously have a lot of regret with that, and I have my own responsibility for things that I did and the choices that I made to go there, because no one dragged us down to the hospital, right? And I understand all those bits, so I don't think it's like a completely blameless action. But I think where people go wrong with this is they assume that it was like a solo effort, and I'm like, this is a team effort. This took teams of professionals to get us there, which is one of the complaints. And also, sorry, go on.
No, before we get too far ahead of the OCD thing, were there times that you noticed where your OCD would fluctuate with the contamination? Did you notice any, like during the process, did you notice where it would be like really intense versus kind of subdued? Because I know, like for me, I am the hand washer. I'm obsessed, I'm germophobic, all of that stuff. So I noticed that if there's heightened stress in my life, it gets more intense. And it's like I can't focus on anything else. Like I'll try so hard to tell myself, you don't need to wash your hands. You literally just touched the allergy bottle, but I can only focus on that. So did you go through that with the hormones and stuff?
Yeah, but it was always really super intense. The thing that really made a difference to me was I dropped a tab. I don't know if I'm allowed to say this word. I dropped a controlled substance on my tongue that sent us into a. You may work out what I'm talking about here, and I tripped really super hard in it, and that was the thing that made the biggest difference to my OCD in the most positive way, more than anything that I've ever had. And but answer your question, it was just always consistently a problem. There were peaks and troughs for sure, but it was just a constant problem constant
nothing
issue.
nothing surrounding the transition process.
No, I
It
mean, I was
just
just
was
became very, for a time, I became very obsessed and focused on the transition and obsessed about past and obsessed about how people were perceiving us and stuff like that. It did shift focus to that.
Mhm.
But the whole sort of rumination, the intrusive thoughts, all that, they were always there. And it was just a constant thing. I think transition more than anything was just a great big distraction, you know?
Okay. Yeah.
So, right, so we're at the point where did you receive, so you mentioned that you received therapy. At what stage did that therapy start though? Because you went private for this diagnosis. You didn't get any therapy to get that diagnosis, I'm taking. Because
So I went
it's,
to see a gender therapist at the gender clinic. So it wasn't therapy, it was like ideological driven sort of thing. So there wasn't
yep,
a
yep.
model, it was all talk therapy. And it was mainly just handling my reactions to rejection from family because I lost family over transition and stuff like that. Because they were like, I'm not going to be present while you have this mental breakdown of yours and drag everyone down with you, which is fair. Because I was totally like, I was gone with the fairies, man. Um, and because when I rejected the surgery, I said I would just really want to work it out. I want to talk to someone about it. So they got us in touch with this gender therapist, and I saw them constantly. And the more I saw them, the more I believed I was. It was all about like curbing doubts. Because in 2015, because I've got me medical records, there was me talking about detransition then. Because I was like, I don't think this is for me. And that was a big part in keeping us back on course, as it were. So I did see him before surgery, but that kind of led us back down there. Can't say too much about that, but I would call that a massive contributing factor. And the vast amount of, I had so many appointments at the gender clinic for loads of stupid little things like the voice coaching, and they were just all, it was just very ideologically driven because they have weekly team meetings, MDTs, where they discuss the patients and they discuss who's the most passable, who's like eligible, who's like doing well, who's not, etc. And they were always constantly saying to me this line that I was an ideal candidate, and it was because at the time, I had really long hair. I could do the voice really well. I actually looked the part okay, but I was still a man, and they were all rooting for us, which at the time felt great. I suppose I was supported, but I was very much like I am truly trans because they say so. Um,
Was there any doubt along the way? Like, did you doubt what this diagnosis was at any time?
oh yeah, yeah,
And you were
quite a
just
lot.
like fighting forward, like, nope, they're right. This is it.
But, yeah, and then when stuff like that came up, they were like, one of the explanations was I had internalized cis sexism from
Wait,
Internalized
what?
sexism. What is
in,
that?
internalized cis sexism. Okay, so
So you,
cis sexism is the belief that everyone is not trans, and inherently, if somebody tells you you're trans, um, you doubt them because really only you can see the world from the cis lens, and no one could be trans is the belief. So if you've got internalized cis sexism, it's the belief that you can't be trans because of your sex. And I was saying, I'm male. I know I'm male. This doesn't make sense, surely.
I
Like,
think I
why would I?
have internalized cis sexism. I think I have that.
Yeah, and internalized transphobia as well, because I was very, very critical of transition and myself transitioning. And they were just like, it's just because you've had all this hatred all your life and all this, you come from like quite a working class background and all this sort of thing. And, it's just living in utter bigotry your whole life. And I'm just thinking, nah, I think it's actually the voice in my head saying no. Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
and
Yeah.
and a lot of that was just tuning that out, you know.
I've genuinely never heard internalized sexism. That's
Oh,
that's
dude, you went as transphobic to me as me to yourself in therapy. Like I wish I was a fly on the wall and had recordings because I said some really funny things. I think
Oh, I
like
didn't get any
um,
therapy. Oh, thank you. I didn't get any therapy for mine.
it
Um,
was probably for the best. I think if I never saw any of those therapists, I probably wouldn't have even thought about surgery. I probably would have naturally desisted, and you never would have heard of me. I just would have gone off somewhere. But that's not what happened, you know. To their detriment, I suppose, because I am also quite a bolshy bugger, and
yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
So I did have a lot of involvement with the gender clinic, but I reluctantly don't say the word therapy because it's like, do you get therapy if you see a priest every week?
Yeah,
I'm
well,
sure they can give you empathy and stuff, but are they not ideologically driven to tell you all things are God's plan, etc.?
yeah,
And it was like that, but
Unless you're in confession.
that's literally what it felt like. It was like confess your AGP sins, um, and I was just very much in the end. I was like, okay, well, all the people in my life saying this, these people are saying this. I know my family are saying the opposite, and my gut is kind of ringing true here, but they're not doctors; they're just ignorant, etc., etc.
hmm
And that's another one of the things that I struggle to forgive myself for was trusting these people over my family who, I think they know me way better than the doctors.
yeah.
So,
But you're brought up to believe that the professionals actually know more than the people around
yeah,
you because they're the ones that are trained. They're the ones that went to school and colleges and universities and have their licenses and go through all of these courses in professionalism. When realistically, they're just following a script that's provided to them by people that have
yes.
no idea what actual they should be doing. Right, so you've received this ideological therapy. They're kind of affirming you and leading you down the path even further. So you started hormones at 26. When did you notice the changes when you started on these hormones? Because you've been on blockers for about a year at this point.
It's like changes. I don't know. I mean, the I don't think I really. I was more worried about like the contamination aspect, and I felt happier once I'd achieved blocking it. So I didn't really care how I was going to progress. I just wanted it to stop, and it kind of did with the blogger because I was like, oh, I'm not getting poisoned anymore. I've done something, and I can relax now. But that relaxed state would only last for a little while until I had another fire lit up my backside where I was like, I really need to do something about the next thing.
Mm-hmm.
And there was always like a next step and stuff. But um, because I've struggled with weight issues in my life. I've had gynecomastia care all my life, so I didn't really notice that much difference. I was like, I've always had like a flabby chest, as it were. So I was like, whatevs. Doesn't really make a difference. And I had a lot of laser hair removal on the face. And that was the only thing that really made the difference was I didn't have to shave, and I hated shaving. I just hated the sensation of hair on my face. Like it was very much like it was just it wasn't like a because I think I should be a woman or something like that. It was just because I literally couldn't stand the sensation. Like it was like a autistic reaction, I guess. And like when I had all this like explained after the fight, it was so annoying how a lot of this is just obvious, and the more obvious it is, the more frustrating it gets when you realize these professionals are just going, "Yeah, of course you are," blah blah blah, and you're thinking that's just so cruel to say to somebody who's like totally unwell. Like, yeah, sure, just feed the delusions. So, um, I'm
And we don't do
obviously
that for anything else.
no, they weren't.
Just
Imagine they
this.
did that. Said that with depressed person. Yeah, you really are the saddest person on the planet.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah. oh, you're thinking about unaliving? Yeah, you should do that. You know,
I mean, if you're in Canada, you probably get recommended for it now. So they'll be
oh
like,
yeah,
have you considered
big
me?
program. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's a different line for a different conversation, let's be honest. Right.
Yeah.
No.
So so what I've heard a lot of people, both detransitioners and still trans-identified people, saying, myself included, is when, well, you might not have, but now that we know that it is more of the kind of OCD compulsion to contamination with the testosterone, but when it normally when you get your first script for estrogen, it kind of gives a euphoric feeling of it, that it's finally happening. You're finally on this medication that, is going to save your life, basically. All of this that the doctors have told you, this is going to cure, the comorbidities that you've got, the alcoholism, the drug abuse. Did you experience anything like that, where it was kind of a euphoric kind of
I did
sense?
with the blocker, but not with the estrogen. I didn't give a shit about the estrogen, if I'm honest. It was just about the testosterone. Um, the more I think back, the more I was like, God, I really just wasn't into it at all yet. Like, what was I doing? It was kind of insane, actually. And I think that's because I've got a lot of clarity of thought now, and I was
Mm-hmm.
very unstable at the time and trying to make sense of things that really don't make sense. And the more I describe it back to myself, I'm just thinking, God, this is such a word I got banned for before.
Yes.
Sort of thing. I'm like, this whole thing just doesn't make sense. And like, you can't have this conversation with anyone without them like getting their own backs up. Like, oh, you're gonna ban it for everyone. Like, if I had that power, you know what I mean? And I was like, I'm not talking about anyone else but myself and other people who, quite frankly, should have been rejected from the get go. Not because they weren't trans and like this or any based, because people will cope in different ways and say you weren't really trans. Well, according to the experts, I was the truest of them all. So it's like in like multiple times. That's the problem. If you're saying that I'm not truly trans and they say no, there clearly is a problem then, isn't there? If
That
that's
happens a lot that I've noticed. If even you could live as, quote unquote trans for a year, 20 years, whatever, and if you detransition, you were never trans.
yeah, it's the whole thing with like people who leave faiths, like Mormons who leave their religion and stuff. They weren't true believers and all this sort of thing. But the main belief, what they try to latch onto, is that actually you are trans. You've just been brainwashed by these evil twerps who have been very mean, and they are controlling you. You just need rescued. You know, it's very infantilizing, and that's why I do the stupid little voice. I'm like, no, dude, I went through surgery, instantly realized that before, like, and I'll get on to that. I'm jumping ahead a bit, but I had insta regret, like, before I comprehended what I'd actually done. I was like, this was a stupid thing to do. What the fuck have I done? Oh, God, I swore again. My apologies.
No, you
Um,
can you
You
can
can
swear.
still.
You can swear.
all right.
Yeah.
It's just anything that could be deemed
I just can't say
as a
my
slur.
favorite
As a
words. I
yes,
love
basically.
slurs. I love
Um,
slurs.
basically
Slurs are the
yes.
best. Slurs are great.
Well,
You know,
I
you
would,
slurs.
I wouldn't deny you slurs unless it was for the TikTok
I
gods
know, I
wanting to
know, I
strike us
know.
down.
But
But
yeah,
yeah, so hearing this, it's just I've heard it, right. You and I, we've spoken, so I've heard it, but hearing it again, it really does hit home. Um, And it's so upsetting that we still live in this concept where people can just turn around to someone who medicalized in my case, but like medicalized and surgicalized in your case, and say, "Oh well, you were never trans." And as you says, Richie, that is exactly what we are saying. That is the exact reason that we are speaking out, because people like us get diagnosed with something that we should never be diagnosed with, to the extent where it does irreversible damage to our bodies. And it's if that is happening, then what the fuck is this concept of true trans? Because there is none, you know. And they've said it to you on multiple occasions. You're the ideal candidate. You're the ideal candidate. You were probably an ideal candidate for them because you had so many vulnerabilities that they could latch onto and try and treat all of these separate issues under one umbrella issue, where let's treat what you don't have to kind of weed out what you do have. And it doesn't work like that. And it's dangerous to do that.
Yeah, it is. It is completely. It's unethical at the end of the day what they're doing. People with like autism and OCD are very concurrent, and it's a big factor in that community as well. And I think a lot of people see and hear aspects of my story and think, "Uh oh, that's me. I've got that." Well, I can't be that. Maybe it's just him and da 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 da. Yeah, and you're you're projecting and all this sort of thing. And I'm like, actually, I've talked to many people, and a lot of them have got similar sort of backgrounds to me, and similar sort of issues. And again, everyone just wants to simplify it and reduce it to that one thing, but it's not.
Yeah.
It's not fair.
Yeah. So how did we get into the surgery then? So you're on hormones. It looks like what you've been on hormones for about 4 or
So
5 years at this point before your surgery.
it was no. What happened was it was 2017, and I remember the conversation. So I remember I'm seeing like the gender therapist every other week, and every 6 months I have a catch up with the psychiatrist at the gender clinic, and that's where they're going like, have you given any thought to gender reassignment surgery? And on, I think it was about Janish 2017, and she went, look, you're established on your hormones. You've been seeing the therapist for 2 years now. If you don't want surgery, we'll just discharge you, because this is not a mental health service. This is a medical service. And at the point I was like, I knew I was going to lose the therapist, and I was like, okay, it'll be sorry to lose him, but okay. So I kind of went away, and I was accepting that. And then I saw the therapist, and he wasn't happy about that decision, and he had panicked us a little bit. I was talking to friends, and they had also panicked us a bit. And then it wasn't long after that, very, very shortly after, I rang them back, and I was like, "Oh no, no, refer us again," because I knew the therapy would continue, and I just thought, you know what, I'll just not go through with it again. But it was like the third time, and they were just getting really short with us, you know.
So
And
why do you think that they were panicking? Were they like, that's so odd to me.
it's because of the waiting list, because they've had this
Okay.
big backlog of people that they're trying to get through, and they just saw me as someone that could go to the back of the queue if I wasn't sure, and I was like, well, I'm not sure. And then in the end I was like, yeah, sure, I'll do it, but I want to continue seeing the therapist. And about a year into waiting after that, and was continuing the therapist, I had just really bought into the idea that that was the solution. Everyone was telling us. No one was telling us any downsides. They were saying, if you've got no intentions to come off your hormones, then you're just going to atrophy anyway below, and you might have to get it. You might not be able to get the surgery as well in the future because everything will be smaller and stuff like that, and it won't work, and you're already getting erectile dysfunction and all this sort of thing. And I hadn't been able to like perform sexually, if that's the word, for ages because of the hormones. And quite frankly, I wasn't that bothered. I've always been very low sex drive anyway, so I wasn't too bothered about that. I was more bothered about like the contamination stuff, as it were. And it just got sold to me like it would be, you are the true trans. It is convenient. You really are dysphoric. You just don't know it. Da, 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 da. And there was all these. There was just, it was just very enthralling. And you have people in the community. No one's telling you what happens when it goes wrong. Like, and in hindsight, there were people who it went really wrong for, and they were just saying, "Yeah, it's fine. It's good. but they wouldn't say anything else. They just say it's fine, it's good. And the ones who really went into it were like overselling it and stuff. And one of the psychiatrists or doctors at the gender clinic were like, "You'll be amazed how the skin can heal." And it was almost as if my brain was going to rewire the skin to make it perform like female genitals or something. It was really, the more I think about it, it was pretty crazy.
Do you think that eased your mind before you went through the process? Like, oh, it's not going to be this horrible, gruesome thing because everything's going to be exactly the way I think I want it.
The way I got told was, you'll have some issues for the first few weeks. That's normal, but you're seeing one of the best surgeons in the country, if not the world. You're young, you're healthy. I was fit at the time. I was in good shape. I was young. I say I was. Well, I was like, when this was happening, I was about I was 29/30, and to them, I was. It was going to be great. And online, like, the thing was, this was at the peak activist era where any sort of negative discussion about surgery or regret was, you couldn't find it anywhere online. So all you could see were good reviews. There used to be a Reddit about surgery, but it got shut down. And when I researched the surgeon, I was only getting all the positive praises. And then I think there was one or two that I'd known that hadn't had a good result, and they were like 50 or 60, and that's what it got put down to. Like, they were just old. So the way I saw it, it was very low risk. It had happened anyway. Everyone was recommending it. It would, like, I don't know what it was solving, but it would like make me, I wouldn't, because I was having a lot of unfulfilling hookups as well with men who just really wanted me because I was an estrogenized male with and that like, that was very unfulfilling. And I'd reported that that was also levied against us. Like, you're obviously not engaging with men in the way you want to, all this sort of thing. But it was just really bad smecks, if I'm honest. It was just bad.
Do you think that you were doing that so that you could, like, being promiscuous or with, these men, do you think it was your way of affirming what you thought you wanted?
Absolutely.
Or
It was a bit of both. It was like validation seeking, because I needed to make sure I was desirable. Like, otherwise I wouldn't have wanted to transition. I was like, if I'm not desirable to men, then I may as well not do this, But it was a really warped thinking about it. And of course, their drive is way different from women's, so they were very, very, like, they were just treated as like a winning lottery ticket, is the best way I could say. They like looked at us with really gleaming eyes, and they were just, and it was such an addictive feeling. I never had that in my life. And then all of a sudden, well, I had it as a child online when I was getting groomed by people when I was very young, and that's another story. But that was the only other time when I had like this insane, like, people were like addicted, and I was addicted to it as well. And it was just it was very validating, shall we say. And I think that played a big part in the affirmation seeking. Yeah.
That's so sad, because I know a lot of times with that, or even with CSA, people who experience that will grow up to have some sort of promiscuity.
Yeah, and I mean, I went way over the board. I was doing really dangerous things as well. Meeting people in the middle of the night at like locations that were, it was just really dodgy. And I was just totally unhinged, man. I just didn't care.
I think it's more Not that you were unhinged. I feel like I don't want you to ever feel like there was something wrong with you, because I don't think that's the case. You know, I see where you, like, I know sometimes I'm like, oh, I'm just damaged, or there's just things that, I just am this. But I really don't think that that's the case. I think that there was obviously more things going on with you, and
Yeah.
that caused, you
I
know,
also had a really strong addiction to a certain substance, which I won't say in here. And I think that also messed me thinking up as well.
yeah.
But
Yeah. I just don't want
yeah.
you to be hard on yourself, and you know what I
Ah,
mean? And say, oh, well,
yeah.
I was just messed up.
But I
You
mean,
know?
a lot of it, and that's kind of part of the point, is I clearly was extremely unstable.
Yeah.
I clearly wasn't an ideal candidate for surgery.
Yeah.
Hence, what happened. And then when I actually eventually had surgery, it was just awful. It went bad. I lost a lot of blood. I had to stay in hospital longer. All my suture lines popped open.
So just
I'd
before we get into that point, Richie, if we go back to when you had it, because this is one part of your story that really hit me, and it was something that you and I actually spoke about privately too, which I'll touch on in just a little bit. But right? So you've right up until, tell us what was your thoughts the day of the surgery before you went in to the surgery. What was your thought pattern at that point?
I still had doubts. I think I really just wanted to walk away, but at that point, it very much feels like you're on the sled just going down the hill, and
Right.
it was just very much like I'm here now.
No breaks.
Again, yeah, it was a. I don't know. I really wish I had a good answer for both me and you, but I just don't. I just can't really remember what I was thinking. It was. I think there was an aspect of this is the final step, and now I can live a life, get married, have a family, the whole sort of shebang. It was still in the lines of fairly delusional in the sense that I thought I was just gonna live a happily ever after.
Were you, before you go on from that, were you still dealing with any kind of like internalized homophobia? Were you
Yeah,
still just like, I need to be a woman to be with a man?
yes.
Okay.
Yeah, that was a big part of it as well. But uh I think there was also, and I think people do this through like their own sort of trauma and development, but I definitely like sexualized that experience of wanting to be the female in the relationship with the man. And I think that is part of the overall paraphilia that we all have. But it comes out in different facets.
Mm-hmm.
Because I don't believe in HSTS, by the way. I don't think it exists. I think they're all different shades of autogynephilia, but you've got four subtypes that are quite prevalent. So you've got behavioral, you've got the close one, which I don't think I can say the word here because it'll probably flag up.
I
You've
know you
got
can for
relation.
that.
Oh, right, okay. So
Fetishistic.
the transvestic
Yeah.
fetishism, which is concurrent on all. Even the apparent HSTS do report it, even though it's low sort of arousal. But there's also that inner voice saying they don't want to be associated with that because, like all men, we exist on a spectrum of in degrees of intensity, and so I'm getting some really bad feedback of someone. I'm not sure who, but it's a little bit.
Might be me. I'm trying to fix. I'll mute for now,
Oh, that's
Danielle,
better.
if you just want to.
Do you want me to
No,
mute? Oh, okay.
no, it was Michael. How dare you? How dare you?
I know. Way to ruin things.
Where was the?
You were talking about HSTS and
Yeah.
autogynephiles. Yeah.
So I think going back to the validation thing, part of mine was that relationship. Like, if men value me as a woman, then I am a woman, and that feeds into the fantasy of being a woman because I can be with a man. I'm not a man with a man, sort of thing. And
Mm-hmm.
yeah, it is a little bit of homophobia, if I'm honest, but I think it is mostly it is a mixed bag, and I think people are too easy to like resort to this one tiny thing, and I don't think it is like that. But quite simply, I think the main point I would say is it was and is a crippling mental illness. Um, and that's the baseline that a lot of people don't really want to shy away from because they take that as an insult. But I just talking about my past here now, describing everything, does that sound anything but mental illness? It's crazy, dude. It's like, it is illness. It is delusional. And it's enraging that it was enabled for this weird part in our history, which we seem to be like coming out of, where everyone was playing hush hush pretend, and it was very frustrating. And now we're just
You so
pretending like,
hard.
sorry,
They were pushing you so hard
yeah,
in
yeah.
affirming you, and yes, this is what you need. This is who you are. Um,
And
yeah,
again,
it's so hard.
I have my own bits to play in that, of course.
Yeah, well,
Um,
yeah,
but
adult decisions.
yeah, it wasn't a neutral act either. It was like there were other people involved, and I wasn't the one who did the surgery. But the way the phrase it is like you cut it off or you did this, and I'm like,
Yeah,
actually, a surgeon did that. A psychiatrist signed
yeah.
that assessment off, and all that. And it's like you can't just get to um you just don't get to that point accidentally. You don't just trip, fall, and get there.
Well, you also, while we're on that part, I watched one of your interviews and you talked about something I'd never heard of, which was unstable personality disorder.
Right.
Can you touch
So
on that, please?
yeah, so this is used to be called borderline personality disorder, but it got renamed to unstable. So what happened is I had surgery. I was like, oh, wow, this was a mistake, and then it was going wrong. And then 3 months after surgery, my gender therapy sessions resumed, and he goes, I said, hey, you know what? I totally regret this. I shouldn't have done this. And he was like, whoa, you've just came out with surgery. You know, you've been on anesthetic that impacts your serotonin levels, and your OCD is going way, way up. And because of that, that is why you're experiencing that. And I was like, okay, I trust it. So I came back the next week. Dude, I still feel regret. And this went on for about 7 months, me going back saying I regret, and then them saying I had OCD. And then in very early 2019, they went, oh, it's clear your OCD is a very big problem. We'll get you referred for OCD treatment. And I was like, what? So I went with my gender therapist and a psychologist, a psychiatrist, and a social worker. And they talked to me for a bit, sent us out the room for like an hour or something. And when they invited us back in, they said, you've definitely got OCD, so we're going to re-diagnose you again. But you also have unstable personality disorder, and this is why why you think you have regret. And it's all part of this shift in unstable personality. But, we'll get you treatment for that, and, that will subside. But there was no acknowledgement I actually had regret. It was quite simply I had borderline personality disorder or unstable personality disorder. And I was just thinking, I was just so angry at them, dude. I was like, I was so raging. I was so like, when I don't get listened to and I know I'm right, I just go off on one. And this is kind of why I went public. And
Well,
then,
this is a big thing. Like you should be angry about it.
so
And like did you find were you angry at all because here they're putting in all this effort after you've had surgery to find
yeah,
out like what your mental health
yeah,
situation was?
basically, I was like, this
Oh,
is what I was asking for. I don't understand how I got this. It was a very sobering experience
yeah.
because after surgery, naturally, all the addictions kind of subsided. I did get very briefly addicted to Nefapam, which is an over-the-counter opioid, which is amazing, by the way. I'm just saying. I know I shouldn't like it, but oh my God, what a thing.
And it's an
Um,
opioid?
yeah, it's like an opioid, but it
Okay.
was very I like that. Anyway, I shouldn't promote drugs or anything like that, but it was really good. And And I had all these problems with it's Nefopam, Nefopam. Get me some. I had a constricted urethra after surgery, so I was on a catheter for like 4 months after.
Oh my
And
God.
I still have problems now. I've had like 8 surgeries now to try and help this thing. I've got another surgery coming up in May.
And
Still,
that's
stenosis, yeah. So that's the tightening of the urethral passage, so you literally can't pee. It's like imagining a straw being bent. Really, really, really sucked.
gotta be painful.
So, yeah, I was in a lot of pain. When 10 years sound down a bit there, Michael. There we go. What else? So I was, by about 2021, they started. So they said to get treatment for OCD, I need to go through the mental health services from the bottom. So I had to go through like this rigmarole of explaining the OCD from the basic level, because they knew that I needed like what's called level 4, which is a psychologist, which is what I saw in 2024, and it was amazing, by the way, like that. But that was after the fact. So by the time I was in 2022, I was very much aware I was being gaslit by everyone. Everyone was like, "You don't have regret." Everyone was saying this is just all blah blah blah, and everyone was being dismissive. And I was like, "Nah, nah, I'm not having this. I'm not. No, no." And there are other people doing this as well. No way. I'm saying something. So I went. So I just went public and started talking about it, and then I didn't even intend to sue at that point because I didn't think I had a case. I tried going through it with some local solicitor firms at the time, and they all pushed us away, so I kind of left it alone. And then this barrister contacted us and was like, "I think you do have a case." And I told the difficulties that I had, and he helped connect me with my current lawyers, basically. And that was on a. They got me medical records and saw everything because everything was documented, and they just took it on pro bono. And so far, they've spent. I think the bill is about 220,000 at the minute. But obviously, I don't pay that unless I win. So they are clearly quite confident. I can't tell you the inner workings of what's going on, but obviously, they were quite horrified, and it was nice to. Even if that doesn't go anywhere, which I hope it does, at least I had that chance. Do you know what I'm saying? And that was one of the reasons why I did all the interviews in 2022, and I'm still waiting to have that resolved. And that's where I'm still in the thick of it. I don't know how long that's going to take, but
well, your voice is so important. You and Michael and everybody, all the other detransitioners, it's so important because you could possibly, and I think you are, literally saving lives by doing this and speaking out. And I have so much admiration for both of you. I really do.
Yes.
It's hard.
I've had conversations with people and stopped them in the tracks because no one is allowed to have. There's one. No one's allowed to have an honest conversation.
One of those.
Yeah. And in fact, I only started learning everything I know now about autogynephilia and surgery and all that was all learned in like the last 2 or 3 years, which is ridiculous. Like considering I should have known, they should have told us that like front loaded, but they didn't. And it's just a giant scandal in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree.
Well,
I agree. And these kids get so caught up in it. And I see a lot of this younger generation, like my daughter, she's 19, and when she was in high school, this just completely blew up. And these kids are so easily influenced, especially by social media, and then they start questioning things that don't need to be questioned, And then there are kids who need help for other things, like these comorbidities. And so many of the detransitioners and people who think that they're trans are on the spectrum. Like, why are we not looking into this?
Yeah, all that was after the fact. OCD treatment, autism diagnosis, it was all after the fact. And by the way, the OCD treatment was amazing. Really changed. Like, I know I said about the trip that I had that helped a lot, but in managing it and stopping things from escalating, it was just because I had what's called exposure response therapy mixed with some other things. So it's kind of like baiting out the OCD thing.
I'm terrified to do that. I'm like,
One of
no.
a very normal OCD thought is I could be holding a hot cup of coffee and all of a sudden it's like I'm gonna throw this hot cup of coffee in front of the face, right? I know I'm not gonna do it, but I'm like, holy crap, I'm gonna do this. I need to wrestle this cup like down.
Yeah.
So one of the exercises was really he poured a hot cup of coffee and I held it next to his face and he went, "You haven't thrown it yet. You haven't thrown it. You're not gonna throw it." And it was really like it was like almost as if he was like trying to bait us to do it. And then it was like, I know I'm not going to do it. And then I learned about ego dystonic and ego syntonic thoughts, which is all about ego syntonic of thoughts and beliefs that align with your values. Ego dystonic are thoughts that do not align with your values, which is why when you get an intrusive thought, like a violent one or something like that, like I'm going to push someone, your brain's like, holy crap, I don't want to do that. So you go through it again and again. That's ego dystonic. And I didn't know about any of this. And it was just like very, very like easy thing.
I wish there was a way that you could actually turn that noise off, especially when you're doing stuff like this. Thank you so much, everyone. But I think this is one of the big problems that we've got with the gender services in the NHS. It's kind of detached from although it's part of the NHS itself, it's completely detached from the NHS. It's kind of a standalone service. Whereas if you look at something like kind of general mental health, that will still link in with the hospitals, that will still link in with the doctors, that will still link in with psychologists, sociologists, everything, no sociologists, but everything is kind of interlinked. And what I do at my GP is on my medical records for, the hospital, if I end up in hospital, and vice versa. If I went into a hospital, it would be on, but the gender services is so isolated in its approach that there were stuff on my medical records that were on the GPs that they never picked up on because they just didn't take the opportunity to check these records. And it's on the diagnosis, I don't know about yourself, but my initial diagnosis was done by two separate psychologists. So I went and seen two psychiatrists, I went and seen two separate psychiatrists. The first one says that I needed to go for therapy. The second one said that I didn't. And ultimately, it was the second one that made the decision whether I got access to hormones or not. So they don't even link up when, they discuss what actual pathway I should be taking. I don't know if you found that when you were doing the service, that one doctor would tell you something and another doctor would tell you another thing. Just be careful showing that stick on the camera, by the way, because that will flag the live.
Oh.
But you can just hold it in your hand like that.
Yay, free speech. Yay, free. Yeah.
Fuck TikTok.
Like this.
You bunch of fun. Sorry, I shouldn't swear. I don't want to get your life taken down. But yeah, so quite essentially, I experienced a lot of issues and just really, really didn't have a good time, and realized at the end of it, I went through all this for absolutely nothing, and I've just been coping and seething since by being online and sort of talking about it in a very calm and placid way as possible. But it's really difficult when people are coming at you non-stop for 4 years. And it really says a lot, but I've held firm and I've learned a lot. I've learned a lot about how hormones work. I've learned a lot about the other unassociated risks. I'm obviously not a medical professional, but because I've been overly exposed, I feel like I know more than most endocrinologists who practice this, and some of the endocrinologists are extremely captured and very reductive. None of them really seem to understand the impact on grey matter, even though it's grey. And not just the bone health stuff, but it's mainly the deterioration and early onset dementia, which is one of the big problems for both men and women who take hormones, cross-sex hormones.
Yeah. So I don't know if you covered, because I had technical issues, so I wasn't hearing a bit of it, but I don't know if you covered any kind of lasting effects from taking the hormones, or kind of what's the next steps now that you've had this surgery. Have you returned to taking testosterone? Like, where is that sitting at?
I tried testosterone for a little bit, and I'll be honest, I couldn't cope with the rage and the anger. A lot of it was directed at self, but I think I've got pre-existing issues with anger just generally, and it just made everything worse. And also, because of the surgery I had, I get hair growth inside the hole and stuff like that, and that gets worse testosterone. And you know what? I was on it for like 3 months, and I just thought, I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know why I'm doing this. I think it is the healthiest option going ahead, and I probably will go back on it in the future. But for the last few years, I've dabbled between going on a very low dose to estrogen, and now for the last, so I kind of lost count of how long, but I just stopped taking all hormones, and I'd rather do that. I feel the most balanced on nothing than I do on both estrogen and testosterone. Estrogen just makes us feel like placid and a little bit agreeable, whereas testosterone makes us feel like I'm having like an autism meltdown every second.
So it's one extreme or the other.
Really is. Because I'm not in any I'm just super tired. I've got zero endurance, very low stamina. I've been doing weights to try and get me body strength up, because I lost, when you go on estrogen, it kind of like liquefies your muscles, as it were. So I just had general sort of that weakness and fatigue. But the biggest thing is energy. It's just so tiring. And I think a big part of that was being post-surgery and not having my own gonads, because that helps regulate a lot of different things. So, and obviously I've got the pain down there. I've got both hypersensation and insensate, which is dead nerves combined with nerves that are essentially get short wired. So I can't feel anything on the outside at all. Like, you can stab it and can't feel anything, but you go in a bit and touch something there, it's like being electrocuted. Not in a good way. It's not like it's a good feeling. It's a horrible feeling. So I've pretty much been robbed of any pleasure in my body, and I haven't done anything, like, haven't had anything, I haven't experienced, I'm trying to self-censor what I'm saying, but I haven't experienced anything in over a decade, I would say. Yeah, and when you are on testosterone, you go from not being interested to being very interested all of a sudden, and you can't do anything about it. It's just like, nah. I'm like, I've been through enough shit. I'm just like, I'm done with that. So maybe in the future, but I need to get the other problems sorted. So I've still got stenosis. I still have other issues down there. So I'm going to need some, I've got more surgery scheduled. So I'm going to see how that goes. But in the future, I think I would probably like to get it closed up and removed or something. But again, I'm just avoiding the same people who did, because that's the only people you can go to, and it's like, yeah. I don't want to go back to these people.
You can't go to new people. You have to go.
You have to, yeah.
Oh,
so
my God.
I'm like, there's no way I would. I would probably not be composed enough. So.
And you still are dealing with the stenosis.
Yeah. I'm still got stenosis.
Oh my God.
I've got all sorts of different issues. I got lichen sclerosis. I had that before I went in, which is a skin condition that destroys the pigment in your skin, and that existed before, and now that's inside at the very back, and that's got like a very, very, that's like a, no, I do not have my parts. I have nothing down there. I have a hole used with what was my junk.
And
The way that you put things, Richie, will always make me laugh. I swear. I swear. I've got a hole where my junk used to be. He says so eloquently.
A hole in
So-
my crotch.
and you're a gay man,
I'm a man.
but
I
you're
don't.
attracted to men.
I've got attraction to men for sure. I don't call myself a gay. I don't call myself
Okay.
any label anymore. I think labels are traps. Completely. I think there are only sexual acts. When you understand the intricacies of autogynephilia, you'll understand that you can get two men in a relationship who are doing it for their own fantasy in it, even though the act is homosexual. It's not. Do you know what I mean? It's very. But for me, yeah, I am attracted.
I don't know. It's just it's fascinating and awful to me not having a penis.
It's the same if I was attracted to women. I've got friends who have had the same surgery and they're attracted to women. They can't make love to the girlfriends and stuff, and it's all bad all way you looks at it. You know, it's like you've thank you, your crush.
Yeah.
It's sad though that happens so often nowadays. It's automatically that's where it goes, and then and now it's quicker and quicker and quicker. And I don't know if it's like that where you are, but here in the States, we've had people that we've talked to that just one meeting and they're already on hormones.
Yeah, and also the preoperative assessment. I didn't even get into that. I had that with two other people. You don't even get a one-on-one time. It was just
sorry, you had two other patients in at the same time as your pre-op.
Yes.
What? Like
wait,
exactly.
At the
exactly.
So pre-operation, so the assessment before the pre-operation is you would you basically go and see them and they tell you this is what's going to happen on the day, etc., etc., and this could be a complication or that could be a complication. So you would in any other surgery, so if it's hip surgery, open heart surgery, anything, it's a 1-to-1 consultation that you get.
Not with this. And now they do it in groups of 12 to 15. No joke.
So wait, so if I was in a group of 15 other people going to get this surgery and I had a question, I can guarantee you right now, that question's not being asked.
That's exactly why they do it, I think. And also, they've been cost cutting for ages. So one of the other cost cuts they did was instigated before I joined, which was rather than admitting you the night before, they will put you in an Airbnb instead because it's like £40 versus £150. So as much as possible, they're trying to cut as many corners as possible. And the surgeons don't give a shit after. They don't care. The nurse staff think if you're an NHS patient like I was, because there were some people who were paid. The people who were paid got way better care. But if you were a beggar, as they kind of would put it, you can't be a chooser. So you get what you're given, and everyone goes through this. So shut up. But the staff there were generally quite nice to me. But I had a friend who was treated absolutely brutally because they didn't have any hair, so they weren't wearing the wig in bed, and they called them a non-binary surgeon even though they weren't. And they were really, really horrible to me, friend. And they were always like bitching about other patients, and they were mocking them to you and that for like the bants. Oh yeah, they were like they hate their own patients, dude. They really don't like them. And what I'm trying to tell people is not only do they resent you, you won't get any help. Like,
Mm-hmm.
and the doctors who have tried to help us over the last 8 years, because it's been 8 years now, coming up, they really want to help you, but they can't. Like, they don't know what to do. They're like, I got referred to like a women's health thing first, and I was just like, I don't know why I'm here. I don't know why I would see you. I don't have that. And they're like, but you're a woman now. I'm like, I'm not. I'm not. What are you talking about? And I would get very like, and I think they're used to affirming so much. They've never really had anyone like me who's been adamant that, because I'm not playing anymore, and they're used to playing this game where they pretend that they're getting this exam, and it's all playful and stuff. It's all like a play. It's all BS. And the second that they know that they can drop the guard, they're like, "Yeah, we don't know what to do for you. I'm sorry. It's just the way it is.
Mm.
We can have a look, but I'm sorry." And my surgeon died in 2022 as well, so I can't go back to him. I didn't do it, by the way. I should have, but it wasn't me. He died. COVID got him. He was
Well,
76 when he died. He was 72 when he did my surgery, and I didn't know that either.
that's insane that he's still doing surgery at that age. But
I knew he was old, but I didn't think he was that old. So.
one of the other cost cutting things that they're doing now, and I don't know if you've heard this. I don't know if it's a recent thing or not, but obviously you need two referrals. Basically, you need to see two doctors to actually be referred for the surgery. So was it two opinions? That's the word I'm looking for. However, if you are someone that has a GRC, that is now considered a second opinion.
Oh, fuck off. Really?
Yep, that's
Dude.
what happened to me. So I was put onto a waiting list for bottom surgery with no idea of it because the receptionist at my clinic was like, "Don't you have a GRC?" I says, "I do." And he's like, "Oh, we're using GRCs as a second opinion. Send me it over. I'll give that to the doctor and the second opinion will be approved." So I sent it over, didn't hear anything back from them. And it wasn't until I actually told them last year that I was detransitioning, stop medication, that she turned around and says, "Oh, well, good job you didn't go through with that surgery then." And that's what made me click. I had been referred for that surgery and they hadn't even told me.
Yeah, they just put everyone on the thing, and they're like, so have you been able to get that reversed? Because I know to get it reversed, you have to get an inverted gender like diagnosis.
Nope.
It's ridiculous. Are you still legally female then?
Yep, I can't get it reversed. I need to, as you said, get a diagnosis for reverse gender dysphoria, which they do not give out on the NHS willy-nilly. They make you... Sorry, on you go.
You can get some sort of annulment. I was talking to somebody in Sex Matters. I think it was either Helen Joyce or Maya Forstate I was talking to about it. But they've dealt with a similar case from from women who have got the male GRC. So they are kind of trying to tackle that issue, but it is absolutely insane that even though it's just nuts. Like you have to go through it in reverse.
Yep.
It's like I'm a man trapped in a man's body, and like what the fuck?
It's insane. But this is the whole concept of it. They say sex and gender is separate, right? Gender is something that you express, whereas sex is something that's biological. So why then, if it's separate, are we allowing the changing of sex markers? Because they're not gender. It's male or female. That is sex. Point blank. Period. There's no gender involved in that. That is complete and utter sex. So why are we now allowing this change to process? But I have Helen's email address because I met Helen a couple of weeks ago. Lovely woman. So I'll send Helen a email because I know that I can petition the courts to have it changed, but the courts
help you.
Yeah, but the courts can actually deny it if I hadn't went and seeked this reverse gender diagnosis. But I'm in the stages of doing the complaint process with that service. So I'm like, I am not returning to the abuser the abuser that medicated me. It's not what I am doing.
Yeah, I'm not going back either. I refuse to. And when I saw an endocrinologist in 2022 when I was trying to get on testosterone, they were like, "We need to refer you back to the gender clinic," and I was like, "I don't do it." And I've told them not to. They did it anyway, and I got this letter, this snotty letter from them saying, "Some people have shifting identities, da 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 da, and we can help you if you need." I think the offer was basically, if you need like services, like surgical services, they can help you. So it was already like, if you want top surgery, we can help you with that sort of thing. And I'm like, no, go away. I don't want anything to do with you, you butchers, you
Yeah.
absolute cunts.
Which
Sorry, I
is
don't know.
quite, no, you can, which is quite ironic because I went to my GP because obviously you probably have this experience yourself. I've got gynecomastia, which as I'm losing weight, nothing is getting lost off of the chest. It's still going to always be there. The only option that I have to myself is to go and get surgery to have it removed. Went to my GP. They put a letter in to the plastics. Plastics came back to them and says, no, it needs to be a referral sent from the gender clinic. So then my doctor wrote a letter to the gender clinic, and the gender clinic wrote back to my doctor without contacting me, basically saying everything that happened in Michael's care was 100% appropriate. We will not facilitate any top surgeries for a detransitioner as there's no pathways to do so. And I'm like,
Yeah.
but if I told you that I was a tranny, you would usher me down to the plastic surgeon to get double D's implanted, wouldn't you?
Or have your schlong put into a wrong, as I
Exactly.
have.
It's insanity at its finest. So yeah, so I am not returning to the clinic under no means at all. I've told them that any correspondence that they send now comes in letter or email form or go to my GP. Don't contact me.
There was a
And the
point
next contact
where
they'll get
I
is my
was,
complaint.
yeah, I think around 2022 when I was still reeling. I was like, one of my friends was like concerned I was actually gonna go and burn down the gender clinic, So I felt like that was a real possibility, but I'm glad I didn't. Do you know, funnily enough, do you know how I mentioned I had the OCD treatment? Same building as the gender clinic, and I was like, I can't go in there, dude. I can't do it. So he
No.
agreed to meet somewhere else. He was really canny because it's like all cognitive behavioral thing in Newcastle. It was the same unit. I was like, if I go in there, I'll probably kick off if I see any of my old therapists or whatever, and I'd rather we didn't. And I remember, like, ever since then, because you would always see the Chinese going for other appointments and stuff, and they were all like hunched over. They all looked vitamin D deficient, and they were all like overweight. I'm like a bit of a hypocrite in that one, but they were all like they weren't good, and some of them were wearing ridiculous clothes, like printed like dresses and stuff, like like cartoon prints, very childish. And
Mm-hmm.
I remember just like looking at them like, like, stop it.
Do you think
uh,
there's an element to that?
yes.
Like, yeah.
About Blanchard even found when he first did studies in autogynephilia, about 20 to 30% of his patients had what's called autopedophilia, which is ideating as oneself as a child, which is something that you see quite commonly in transition. And you get these weird fetishist communities that also have paraphilia for being babies and stuff. I don't know if you know about that one.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, yeah.
You also have it with the anamorphic community, like the furries and stuff, and they want to be. It's all about embodying different things, but through a sexualized lens. It's all very, very haram. Do not like that at all. But the autopedophilia thing is a big untapped topic that hasn't really hit the mainstream because you're essentially calling about 1/5 of them pedophiles, and I think that's probably about right.
Yeah.
And some of the factors, how do you know you're dealing with one? Well, one, they've got this obsession with being almost infantilistic in their attitude and their voice, how they talk. They
Yeah.
might reference themselves as being childlike or small.
You know
They've got this.
what's bothered me, and I'm probably going to get dragged for this, but when they call themselves dolls, that really, really bothers me because I think that's a child's toy. A
Yeah.
doll is a child's toy. I don't, it really, really bothers me. But I do agree with you that there is some element of P3DO-ism. You know,
Yeah.
and I'm not calling all trans people P3s. So
That's the worry, because the
yeah,
research shows that it's about 1/5, 1/3, and that's why they get very antsy about it. Well, what, you calling us all monsters? Yeah, actually, yeah, I'm calling a lot of you because I've been in this community, and I have known people who have defended people with history of doing vile things to children, but because they're trans, they get a free pass. That was one of my early cancellations, by the way, in the trans community, was not accepting a local nonce as one of us, sort of thing, and I was like, I'm not fucking standing for this. But
Can I
they were
just do a
all very much.
translation? Sorry. Anybody that's in America, a nonce is basically a P3DO. Just
yeah.
for anyone that doesn't understand that word.
And there weren't loads of them, but there was one or two. And I think this is a big thing that kind of leads into detransition. You need two things to shake you out of it. One is you need sort of a traumatic event or events, and also a cancellation by your own community. Without those two things, most people won't ever detransition. Because there's always this constant need to seek validation and affirmation, and everyone does that together. And the sort of like the mutual agreement is, you scratch my back, I'll scratch yours, e.g., I'll not challenge you, you don't challenge me, whatever, we're just going to live in our little bubble. And the second you start challenging, they realize you're not playing games. So the result is to kind of like expel you or put you on the sidelines, make sure you don't get invited to things. It happens very slyly. And that happened around the same time that I had surgery, and I was already full of doubt, and I was already considered right wing because I'm essentially working class, and a lot of these people were middle class or lower middle class. And it was just because I'm a little bit rough around the edges. I'm not right wing. It's ridiculous. I'm not any wing. I'm just Ritchie, right? But because I'm a little bit abrasive or a little bit bullshit, whatever, like, I think they take that as combative. And
I think
again,
you have a right to be that, though. With
yeah,
everything that you've gone through, I think you have a right to be angry and abrasive and, rough around the edges, which I don't think that at all. I just think that you're a threat to the community. And I think that that needs to happen because there are so many people like yourself who get caught up, and then immediately when you say I'm going to detransition, you're ostracized, you're bullied, you're threatened, you're keep your mouth shut because you don't know what you're talking about, you weren't really trans.
yeah,
And it's like you were saying before, you did all the things, so why
yeah.
are you trans? Like I don't understand that mentality.
And to be honest, quite frankly, I don't want to be in their shitty little club.
Yeah.
I'm quite happy just being Richie. I'm vibing fine. I love not having this like tightness about like just being on edge all the goddamn time and worrying about what people think. And I'm just like settling back to how I used to be before I got really ill. Like I was before it got really bad. I'm a little bit cheeky. I'm a little bit cocky sometimes. Ironically, no pun intended. Blah blah blah. Um, but I am just like, I don't know. It's kind of annoying how calm I am now after getting the treatment and realizing and understanding the issues.
Yeah, it's definitely an eye opener. When you live the experience and then coming out of the experience, and as you says, like I faced it myself where I started speaking out about it before the detransition happens, and I could slowly see, the kind of ostracization that was happening, and the hate from the so-called love and left. Sorry, this cat is dying for my
Yeah.
attention.
Michael, I'm so sorry to interrupt you guys.
I forgot you were here.
I'm just the poster girl up here in the corner. What did I not say to you, Michael, when you were about to come out like publicly as a detransitioner? What did I tell you?
A lot of things.
What did I tell you was coming your way?
Oh, a lot of hate. A lot of hate, a lot of judgment, ostracization, but also people coming out the woodworks.
Yeah. I told him a shitstorm was heading his
Yeah.
way when he
And
was
and there
about to,
was.
publicly announce what he was about to say. So I made sure he was aware because I'd been in these circles. Richie, I've followed yourself for a long time. I've been aware of what happens to detransitioners, the ostracization and the absolute hatred that happens to you guys. And because of I was aware of that, I don't think Michael fully was. So I warned him, like, I understand, like, this is a decision you've come to, and I'm proud of you, but please just be aware your life is like people are going to hate you now.
Oh yeah, I've had all sorts come my way, but most of these are very cowardly people, and I don't want to sound too cocky in that, but I'm pretty sure I could take most of them in a fight if it came down to it. So I don't give a shit. Come on, us. However, you
I
know what I
think
mean?
with all the hate though comes a lot of love and a lot of support,
Oh,
because
so much.
I know, yeah, I know for myself, and I haven't experienced what you guys have, but I think it's amazing. You guys are incredibly brave to come out, and you're going to help so many people by telling your story. People who are confused or, are being pushed into what you were pushed into.
Mm-hmm.
Even though along the way you were like, I don't think this is right. I'm having doubts. And they're like, no, you're trans. Like, this is a great opportunity. You're number one candidate. Like, and when you're already suffering with any kind of mental illness, that can be really confusing.
Yeah.
And when I heard, like, I watched one of your interviews last night, and I'd been following you for a while, but I just, when you said, I woke up with instant regret, like my heart shattered for you, because I can't imagine what it would be like to feel that vulnerable, and you've trusted these people who are supposed to know. They're supposed to know the best. They're the ones who are supposed to look out for you. They took an oath to have your best interest at heart, and they didn't do that for you. And I can't even imagine waking up, and you must have been so scared and just like, what do I do? Did you have any hope? Like,
It's just panic, and then I kind of just
yeah.
gave up. Panic first, and then I was just like, oops, I have shot my hand, so I'm now just pretty much. And when I went like public and detransition, I literally didn't care what happened. I was like, I was pretty much ready to opt out anyway. I was like, who cares? What can anyone possibly do to me now that I haven't already done myself? It's like,
Mm-hmm.
what are you gonna do? You're gonna contact us, or you're gonna try do your internet bullshit? Fuck off! Come on. You think I ain't got like I don't know these people, but I don't want to like get into like fisticuffs with anyone. I don't want to like get into angry, rageful debates. I just don't want people to get butchered anymore. I'm
Yeah.
not telling anyone not to do anything with their life. I'm just saying, like, these people do not give a shit about you. The doctors do not give a shit about you, full stop.
Yeah.
They do not care what you do, how you feel. They do not give a shit. And after, if it goes wrong, whichever way you go, detransition or not, you won't get any help. You're like this for life. You're fucked. Don't do it. Total, just do not do it.
It makes me emotional, because this is happening to too many people, and I just want to. I say this all the time, but I just wish I could be there in that moment with you and just listen. Just really listen to what you were saying, and I feel like the people who were supposed to protect you failed you. And I just wish that I could have been there to listen to what you were saying.
No, I really appreciate that. I do. And I think telling my story does leave people feeling a little bit powerless because it is an injustice itself. I appreciate your your reaction and you like how it's impacted you as well. I just want to say that.
Yeah,
I
it
really
has.
do.
And Same with
But
Michael, and we talked to Layla. She was 14 or 13, just turned 13 when she had a double mastectomy. And
what happened?
it hurt. It has, I have a physical reaction to it because then when you decide that that's not what you really wanted, or you decide to detransition, you're just left, you're cast to the side by not only the community that was supposed to love you, but by the doctors who did this to you.
Yeah.
And I cannot, it just, it enrages me that there's no help. But then I also just, like, I just want to hold you, I just want to, both of you, I just want to be there to help in whatever way I can as just someone who cares.
I mean, I appreciate that, but I'm kind of like, it was 8 years ago that the thing happened, and as far as I'm concerned, I've done absolutely everything in my power to address the situation, if that makes sense. So I've talked about it publicly, warned others. I'm not stopping anyone else from doing shit. I want to protect people. Sometimes I might need to do something that seems like I'm stopping them, but it's literally like, I need to protect you from doing this. That's why I'm doing it. But also, the fact that I have been able to take legal action, regardless of where that ends up, has been a massive thing for me. And also, I do a lot of writing. I've wrote a book. I've got a publisher. I haven't been public about that yet. I can't announce anything officially yet, but I have been working on it. I'm working on it. I've signed a contract and everything. And that's been immensely therapeutic to kind of work it all through, because I don't want to leave people in this powerless position of I'm too far gone, or I'm too ruined or broken, etc. And I'm like, you know what, you're gonna have a rough ride, but you can still drive. Do you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
get going.
And
Don't sit.
You're not
please,
broken, right?
No, I can still go. I can still drive, but I'm definitely, I got some things wrong, and
you're
I'm
perfectly
not going to be
imperfect.
dismissive of that.
Can I just say
Yeah.
something really quick, Michael? Is that all right?
No.
It's just from well, I'm Irish, and that will become like an obvious reason as to why I'm about to say what I'm saying. Everybody knows the scandal of the Catholic Church that happened in Ireland and in Britain as well. There's very few countries in the Western world or all over the world that doesn't know about the scandal of what happened in the Catholic Church. And the first children that came forward were ostracized. They were berated. They were told they were trying to go against the church, to go against God, to go against the priests. They were shamed into silence until there was enough of them to form a community to say, no, this has to stop. This is what's going on. We're not trying to go against God, but you need to be aware of what is happening. And that's when people started to listen, until it exploded into a scandal and everybody knew about it. Laws were changed, safeguards were put in place, and people started to listen. And I think that you guys are like now the new children of the church. You are going to be the first wave that's ostracized and belittled and shunned and silenced. But when there's enough of you, it's going to explode into a scandal that everybody knows about. And once that happens, they'll never be able to go back.
Yeah, I think
think
we're
it is
getting
too.
there. Yeah, I think we're quite close to that moment anyway.
Yeah.
And just going back to Layla, what's happened to children is like utterly incomprehensible. Like, I'm not saying I wasn't vulnerable, but I did have a lot more agency than a child did, right? And hearing Layla's stuff, God, that just makes us want to burn down buildings, to be honest, dude.
Yeah.
So infuriating. And I think people need to latch on to that fury. And I don't think there is enough of it. Everyone's just so shocked and saddened by the betrayals that I'm like, yeah, it is pretty shocking and saddening, but we need more.
Mm-hmm.
We need concentrated anger and effort to really bring this down, which is kind of where I'm at. I'm just determined. I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm not.
Sorry to interrupt, but we need people to speak on the emotions that they're feeling. Like, it's an emotive,
Absolutely.
it's an emotive subject to try and go into this subject just with a kind of clinical view. You can't do it. You can't. I can throw all the stats at you. I can throw all the definitions, everything, but it's the emotion behind it that makes people stand and be heard. It's this having, hearing people's stories, hearing your stories, hearing Layla's stories, and the actual emotional impact that it has on someone that, Danielle's never experienced going through trans identification. Other people in the chat have never experienced going through the actual ideology itself. And for them to feel just as angry as we are speaks volumes. And it's that anger that we need to push out. It's that
And also,
we will
like,
not tolerate it.
so I want to talk about the crossover between detransitioners and the emerging over the last 10 years women's rights movement. And it's not that we belong in that, but in a Venn diagram, the overlap is gender affirmation. That has been the singular cause of every single issue that women are facing right now. It's affirmation that changed policies without changing the law. It's affirmation that opened up women's sports, prisons, single-sex spaces, shelters, words. A lot of the language games have came from hyper online activists who are mainly MTF and FDMs. FDMs have done a lot of stuff with like periods and stuff like that. They've changed the words around like women being pregnant and stuff because it impacts their dysphoria. That is why the language of women has been fundamentally attacked to affirm the trans men, but also it's just been a massive huge crossover. And what we have to also accept is our part in making that reality come forward. And I think we really need to align to undo it, because that's the minimum that I owe them for that, because it is a breach. But I have a big worry about autogynephiles infiltrating the women's movement, because autogynephiles who are in transition crave validation. They crave being affirmed, even if they say the right things. Like, they may call themselves detrans when they're clearly still, they're still skinwalking, they're still doing all the things they did in transition. And some of these people really hate women, by the way, like really hate them, to a very concerning degree. And that's really shocked me as well. I've had to handle situations relating to this without going into specifics, but that is another big thing, that affirmation crossover. So I'll gladly stand with women if should they need us, but I don't think we should stand in their way as well. And we do not want to.
We need the help.
Yeah,
absolutely.
But
Yeah.
I think
Never want to speak on their behalf, though.
Yeah, I think what it is for me though is we both have the end goal, same end goal, but we're on different paths to get to the end goal. So there's going to be like points where we can come together and meet. But ultimately, like, I am speaking as someone who was directly harmed by this ideology, someone who was medicalized, someone who's got lasting effects because of the actual ideology itself.
Same,
Women speak
but it's
on.
also possible. It's possible to be both perpetrator and victim in this at the same time, and not to like, oh, I don't want to. I'm not carrying a cross around and being like, I've been such an asshole or whatever. But to say I haven't contributed to this is incorrect.
Oh,
and I think we need that open honesty as well, where people say we recognize, what the part we've played in it, but we also recognize the impact to us as well. And women are rightfully cautious. And I think the best advice I have for women is keep all men out of it. Just keep men out of it. If you need, I'll go speak at an event if you want us to, but like, women really should be speaking for women. Yeah. I'm more than happy to back you up, more than happy to do that. If that's what you need, and if you need that, I'll do that. Absolutely. But be weary of AGPs. They are duplicitous. They will poison themselves in positions to infiltrate and extract the same validation-seeking behavior that they would do in transition, affirming them as victims, affirming them as too far gone, affirming them as just some sort of like effeminate gay man or some bullshit. feminine gay men don't dress up like women. They don't. It's
Yeah.
bullshit. Absolute crap.
I think we're all fighting this on a different level.
Yeah.
And like I've told Michael a million times, whatever you need from me, I will do whatever I can to help. And we need the same, you know, the women, we do these, there are a lot of AGPs, and I do think, you know, like there is a spectrum. You know, I don't think that every trans identified male is an AGP, but
Disagree.
you don't think so?
I
Or
think
you
they're
do
all
think so?
AGP.
Really? Okay.
Every single one is AGP, but they're on different facets and degrees of the type of AGP that they have. It's very convoluted sort of thing to get into, but this
So
belief
even
that there are,
the male attracted,
yeah,
Mhm.
that's behavioral. So they're doing that for the role. So part of that isn't just because they're attracted to men. This is where it gets very confusing. But they are attracted to the status of being the woman in the relationship. Therefore, they're attracted to the heterosexual element of that relationship because they don't see themselves as the woman in the relationship. They see themselves that the relationship is carrying out a societal function. So it's very much like they are they're playing a role. It's like playing pretend along with them. And there may be some genuine male attraction, but you can get people who are with men who they've got zero attraction to, but it's the relationship that they're after, you know?
Yeah. This is why the
Um,
new term gay GP is kind of being coined. It's the would you
it's a cult.
disagree
It's a
again?
fucking cult.
Well, no,
Yeah,
I
dude.
think
I'm
AGP is
black
the
pill
a
as fuck on
behavioral
this, dude.
side of AGP. That to me, that's what that is. AGP is the
Yes, yeah,
behavioral
I
side
think
of AGP.
yeah, but we've already got. I think again, people are trying to self-identify out of autogynephilia because of the connotations of autogynephilia, right? So people want to come up with these new labels like gay GP, so they don't have to call themselves an AGP. But the reality is, it's part of autogynephilia, nothing else. Behavioral, whatever. There are some very, very distinct few people who are extremely hyper-feminine, and they like for like sort of a dating strategy, it's better that they be with men, and there is some autogynephilia there. It's just not as overt and misogynistic as some of the others who have lived in isolation and rumination for so long that they've got some really warped ideas because a lot of people transition into their sexual desire and target. So a lot of them who become transbians, where they fetishize themselves being in a lesbian relationship, where it's two men, you think that's gay. It's not. It's AGP. It's two heterosexual men who are playing a game that they are both lesbians together. That's what that is. There is HSTS is. I don't even think it exists personally, and I think you've also got to understand the power of affirmation and validation,
oh yeah,
and
yeah.
how 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 that can really warp your perception. Like and how like the level of things people will do, mental gymnastics to have that affirmed. You know, it gets insane. And this is why I really want to kind of sternly, and I think a lot of women are on the ball this in this chat already. They're like, we fucking see this, don't need to tell us. But I hope it helps that I'm just verifying it. It's like some of these are duplicitous as fuck. Just be careful. Like they are not reliable narrators, especially if they're still like in an active cross-dressing state,
Mhm.
because they're at a point of escalation, and it's all about escalation. There's always the first photo you share with someone. There's always the first time you dress up, the first time you go outside dressed up, the first time that you go in a public space dressed up, and then the first time you pass without any things. And it's all these escalating points, and that there's a voice in your head that basically says you shouldn't be doing this, you shouldn't be doing this, you need to be justified to do this, which is why they constantly seek other people to ask, is it okay? And that's why AGPs will affirm each other. Especially what happened to me is I joined this forum I didn't. I thought it was all trans. I didn't know anything about this, and they were basically kind of looking at me through like rose tinted goggles through themselves because they were in their mid-50s. I'm 25. I am obviously a very. I'm not 25 now. I'm nearly 39 now. But as you can see, I'm a very handsome boy, and handsome boys can make handsome girls. I'm just saying, and they kind of like live through your experience and stuff. But it's all like getting you to that next point of escalation. And then finally, you got somebody who's escalated to the point where they're always cross dressing. They've even changed their name. They're still living like that. And they need to be constantly reassured that what they're doing, which they know they shouldn't be doing, is okay. And they do that through validation seeking. And the most recent one is, I can't possibly detransition because I've done all this. What's the point? I'll lose everything. It's like, you don't want to. That's what you need to say. You don't want to, which is, again, I'm not going to tell anyone how to live, but don't tell me you can't do this thing because I did it. I've got a friggin' hole in my crotch, bro. Like, what the fuck? Like, you can do it. If I can do it, you can do it. It's bullshit. And kind of like undoing this behavior is a real big part of it as well.
Yeah.
So I'm sorry for that ramble.
No,
No,
I
no.
don't
it's
think porn.
so it's made
Can I
me.
just talk about
Sorry.
porn for a second?
Yes,
Sorry, go
before
for it,
you do,
Michael.
I just want to say I'm going to message you because I want to do another live where we're going more into depth about these topics. It would be so
I know.
interesting to
Yeah.
discuss. You'd
I'm really
educate me
fascinated.
so much.
Yeah, same. I never heard that take before, ever.
Yeah.
So I'm really interested in that. So did you classify yourself as an AGP then?
Everyone who's transitioned is an AGP. Yes.
So
Sorry, Michael.
fascinating to me.
Not the shade thrown at Michael, I'm dead.
Sorry, Michael.
It's like, excuse me.
AGP can also stand for a good person, just so you know. So
Excuse me,
it
what?
doesn't
Pardon?
So at the end, it's because there is this connotation of what it actually means because we've seen so many really bad, terrible examples of men breaching boundaries for the sake of their affirmation and validation. Like Leah Thomas is a great example. The weightlifting troon, all those types, the breastfeeding troons, all of them. These are like the worst scale of AGP where they have escalated to the point because everyone's fucking cheering them on as well. By the way, and it's like that everyone sees that as the worst example, and they don't want to be associated with it, quite rightly. But the way I see it is some men do really terrible things, but just because some men do terrible things doesn't mean I can't associate with being a man, right? It's like
Right.
some men do some great things. Some AGPs do some great things. Some of them do it. Some of them really go out their way to make others aware to their own detriment. So I don't agree with some of the conclusions, like Anne Lawrence, who and some of the sexologists think the way to treat AGPs with transition. And I disagree. I don't think so at all. I think I've got different thoughts on that, but it's the same like recycled gender affirmation. I am going off on one. Sorry.
No,
Yeah,
it's
No,
keep it-
fascinating.
Yeah, I was going to say I'm
And-
highly interested in hearing.
Yeah. Well, and when you bring up Leah Thomas, that's where the women's movement comes in because I'm of the mind that no man should be in a women's space. I mean, these women who were in there were extremely uncomfortable having to look at a penis while they got ready for their swim competitions, and it's not okay. It's absolutely not okay.
No, I think that is exposure, and to say that they're not getting anything from that is ridiculous. They definitely are. Thank you. I do try to be lovely.
Why don't we? Right, so Richie, you and I are going to have a chat offline and we'll set up something, a kind of round table discussion, if you will, and you can give us your knowledge and understanding on these topics that clearly we're so, well, I hate to say, but uneducated on the fact of, these kind of topics. It's something that I haven't personally. I know about AGP. I speak about a little bit about AGP, but my knowledge is very basic in understanding it. And hearing your point of view there, where you would even class me as an AGP, I'm like gagged, gooped, and all the way baffled. And
Okay.
it's something that I do want to pack at, because I wouldn't have the opinion of you. My opinion differs from yourselves, and I like that kind of challenging of ideas. And well, why do you
Yeah.
come up with this conclusion? So
I
we'll
mean,
we'll link up.
I've been around. Yeah, it's
Well, we
like
know where
14
you've been,
years for
love.
me. I've been around.
Since you've calling me an AGP, let me just throw a little bit of shade at you.
Oh no, I'm definitely a Jeeper as well. Like, it's fine. I'm
Right
definitely a
off my
Jeeper.
Christmas
If
card
you-
list. But yeah, so
Not the Christmas card.
a Christmas card gone. Say ya. What I would always like to do at the end of an interview is to open it up to questions from panelists that have been up, or posters that have been up, or people in the chat. If anybody in the chat would like to come up and ask Ritchie any questions that you might have
There
heard
is a
throughout.
question about, do you believe anyone is really trans? Well, how do you feel if I rephrase that as, do you believe anyone is really Christian? It's a belief structure. You are as much of that belief as you believe it. Do I think there is a measurable physical condition called trans? No, but I do think there is a measurable condition called autogynephilia, which is called concurrent with autism, by the way. So, and also there was an earlier point about pornography I wanted to mention. I think quite rightly a lot of women protest pornography in society, and I remember going into corner shops and there was just dirty magazines everywhere. You don't see that anymore, and I think that's good. I don't think that should have been on display. I do think, however, pornography gets
Say
a lot of
cornography.
credit here. You can't. Oh,
Corn.
shit.
Corn.
Pornography. I'm sorry if I get banned, but they get a lot of. It gets too much sort of sway in this conversation. I think it can be an escalating factor, but there are a subset of organophiles, and I would say I was one of them, who experience a lot of asexuality, like a low, very low interest in sex. That doesn't mean you still can't have like a paraphilic set of behaviors. It just means that you're not as sexually fueled. That's not to say that there are some who are completely obsessed. There definitely are people who are overly obsessed. Is it the cause and the answer? Absolutely not. I would say all this existed before I had any porn exposure. And besides, if I ever was using porn, I would not use the trans one. I found that disgusting. So I think now, because of all the different like sort of creations with AI and all that stuff, and Elon Musk's Goonie platform where he's got the Guna stuff and the Goon anime crap, that is fucking frying autistic people's brains and stuff. And I think that there are those elements that are important, but to get to that point, you need to have the precursor. Otherwise, everyone would who uses porn would go down the exact same thing, and would have way, way, way more people transitioning because of the volume of porn users, right? But I think that is, if anything, it can just escalate it, but it doesn't cause it. It's an aggravating factor. But quite rightly, I do agree that I don't think it's good for society. I know people may disagree with that and they'll call it their right. I think it was a mistake. I think it should be very tightly controlled, and I think it should be back in those seedy little shops that you get shamed for walking into or whatever. And it should be very, very hard access. I just think the wild availability of it is frying people's fucking brains. I'm just gonna, my battery's running low, so I'm just gonna pop my camera off and connect my thing in, but I'm still here.
Ritchie, Little Red wanted to know how your mental health is now.
The last couple of years, it's been pretty shocking. Hasn't been great. I still have a lot of issues. I've had a lot of stress. I'm working on it, though. I promise you, I'm working on it. But I've had so much therapy and stuff all my life. I really can't. I can't be bothered going back to a therapist. I'm like completely done with that. And
See
I've
why
my
you
good
would be.
days. Yeah, screw that. And I'm very much, I've got my own battles. At the minute, I'm really struggling with body stuff. Binge eating again and drinking too much and trying to get that under wraps. But I'm being open about it. I'm not being as secretive as I was before, and that's a big part of that. Yeah.
Um, I really need to talk to you more about this AGP stuff. I'm just like that take just like I've never heard that
That's
before. So I really want to know.
yeah.
Yeah.
Throws you right off. But we'll set
Yeah.
up. I want to do a round table live on the AGP subject, especially with Ritchie as chair. To be fair, so you'll obviously be on the round table itself when we do it, and we'll have some questions and discussions. Maltov, of course, like you're my manager, I can't not invite you.
Yeah.
Thank
Um,
you. Thank you for the
I
acknowledgement.
heard
I just
some
have an
kind of
idea, right?
growling.
Sorry, Danielle. I have an idea, and it depends on if Richie's comfortable with it or not. Because I know there's a few troons in the chat. So for the Q&A, I'm wondering, instead of the troons coping and seething in the comments, why don't you
I
just say
can
what you
deal
want
with
to say
them.
to Richie?
I don't mind dealing with comments.
W, Richie. Why don't you
I
just
can
come up and
have-
say what you want to say to Richie, or your questions that you have?
yeah, it's an
Is
open
Hope
panel.
still here?
Anybody is
Yeah,
welcome to
I'll
come up.
fucking-
The only one thing that I
I'll
do
rip
stipulate
it into you.
is Richie, be careful of your language, please. The only thing that I will tell you that is off limits is to ask or speak about the lawsuit. It's an active lawsuit. It's not going to be happening. And if you do ask any questions about that, Richie, just don't reply, and I will tell them to shut the fuck up.
Oh no.
But panel is
And
open
also,
for
if you're
anyone.
going to come up, be respectful, because I will drop you. There's no reason to come up being an asshole.
I bite pretty hard as well, by the way. So you have been forewarned.
I really wanted Hope. Can somebody share the live back to Hope?
I think
He
Hope
was in
might
here a
still be
little bit ago.
watching.
I didn't see
Yeah,
him in
yes.
there. Oh, okay. Hope, can you come up?
Oh wait, I think I need to change. I don't know if people can actually request up because I need to change this layout.
I do like Hope though. I think Hope is someone who's respectful, like to have a conversation with.
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't think like I actually would love to have a conversation with Hope at some point.
All right. I hope just
Summer.
switched accounts because
I haven't seen Summer in forever.
Hi.
hi, love.
Hey.
Really?
Do
Can we
you
get your
have?
age real quick?
Oh, it's
that's
Hope.
that's
I have
Hope.
to use this account.
Oh, hi, Hope.
Sorry.
No, you're good.
Do you have any questions, Hope?
Oh, I don't know. I was supposed to come up. Are you? I guess. Hi, Richie. Are you hetero or homosexual?
I would call myself I would say I'm bisexual, but leaning more homosexual, but I definitely do have heterosexual tendencies as well. But I can be attracted to women, but I'm not attracted to the bodies, if that makes sense, like the body parts. I'm attracted to male body parts, but I would say it's mostly same-sex attraction, I would say.
How long were you socially transitioning before medically transitioning and surgical intervention?
Social transition? Fuck hell, that was like literally weeks. I did it very quickly. And to surgery, it was like 3.5 years, I think. 3.5, 4 years, roughly.
So you were medicalized for roughly 3.5 to 4 years before you had your bottom surgery?
That's correct.
Interesting. What alerted you to the realization that you were not trans but were an AGP who got carried away?
I think that's the same thing, by the way. But what really broke the BS for me was just the sheer regret and the trauma following surgery, the
Yeah.
being ostracized by like friends for other stupid little things, like weird little, you know, those stupid little things you can get ostracized for saying the wrong term or whatever. And I just kind of like, I don't know, I just got very, very, very black pilled, and by the end of it, I was like, I don't want to. This was just a huge waste of time.
How
But you
soon
know,
after surgery did you start to feel that way?
immediately. But I lost a lot
Yeah.
of. I nearly died during surgery, actually. But
Yeah.
I bled so much that couldn't remember the first like 3 or 4 days. Can't even remember my birthday, which was like 2 days after. And then as soon as I had a blood transfusion, I remember really waking up because I thought the whole thing was like a series of dreams and stuff.
Yeah.
And I was like, fuck this shit. And then I just kind of that was a big wake up call. And what really drove us to the areas of the internet that really blackpilled me, I would say, was the rejection from peers and people online to talk about surgery complications. There was a lot of hush hush. There was a lot of people shutting us down, and then I found the information on a different website, and I
Yeah.
realized regret was normal, and I realized I wasn't, because I was quite insistent that there was like I regretted this instantly. This was the wrong decision, and I don't know if you were here earlier, but what happened was I was seeing a gender therapist immediately after surgery, and he said I didn't have regret. And they tried to diagnose me with unstable personality disorder and OCD again after, because I was experiencing regret, and I was just like, this is bullshit.
Yeah.
And I'm not the type of person who, if I know something's wrong and everyone else is like covering and bullshitting, I will just say it. I'll just shout it out. I just can't help it. It's like this thing in me, my brain. I just can't handle lies, and I think that really did it. And by 2022, I realized that actually you can sort of detransition. I mean, obviously, I'm not going to get my body part back, but I don't have to keep doing this bullshit that wasn't making us happy, because I wasn't happy. And
Are
then I
you
tried it, and I was like, holy shit, I'm way happier not doing this anymore. And there we are. And that's the rest is history.
are you autistic?
Yes.
Michael, I'd like to make an observation, but I don't want it to come off as disrespectful. So if I start verging into that territory, please pull me back.
Go for it.
Um, I've listened to quite a number of detransitioner stories and interviews, and I have the utmost sympathy for you guys because you really were hoodwinked and bamboozled in an irreversible way. Um, the thing that's kind of nagging at me about this particular story is, there's another common theme of, well, trans isn't real, it doesn't exist. But I would like to just observe that in just about every documentary regarding AGPs and, certain trans experiences and stuff, they make very clear that there is a difference between what they call trans and what is called AGP. And this is particularly noticeable when AGPs have their bottom surgery. And the reason for that is that transsexuals or transgender people, and we're just going to call it true trans for the sake of understanding where the conversation is, whether you believe it or not, understand that that's what I'm talking about. True trans people don't typically have regret, but AGPs have it immediately because their entire observed transition was sexually based. So I think it's completely fair for you to question the way that you were like psychologically treated and medically treated, because I fully agree. I 100% agree that we should not have affirmation surgery or affirmation therapy. I don't think kids should be on hormone therapy. I think that if you're going to be trans, you should be proud of being trans. But I don't necessarily, I'm almost done. I'm landing my plane. I'm sorry. But I also kind of take a little bit of issue with people like yourself who are self-proclaimed AGPs that regret the surgery immediately, saying that trans isn't real and that other trans people's experience is a delusion. Because the truth is that you were deluded and you're psychologically unhappy. That's just my issue, and I'm not trying to be offensive. I don't think you need to punch. I don't think you need to punch down to heal yourself.
Listen here. First of all, I didn't call you or anyone else delusional. I was very much talking about myself. Second of all, you're completely wrong about what you've said about like autogynephilia and trans as two separate things. It's one and the same, and your misunderstanding on that is shining through, and I'll tell you why. You said autogynephiles instantly regret their surgery. Incorrect. Anatomic autogynephiles, which are the main proponent of surgeries where they're fetishizing having breasts, having vaginas, all that sort of thing, they do not regret surgery, even when it goes really bad. The people who generally regret surgery are the ones who didn't have anatomic autogynephilia, which I didn't. That's the people who regret it. And besides, if AGPs were the main proponent of regret, then you would see a lot of AGPs regretting transition. But your problem here is you've got this distance of, there is something called true transsexualism and autogynephilia, where I'm saying that's one and the same. There are just different offshoots of autogynephilia. One of them is anatomical AGP, which is the desire to have female body parts. So this is why some AGPs who have surgery feel at ease and happy, because they are fulfilling their anatomical autogynephilia. So if you've had surgery and you really like it, that is because you're an autogynephile who wants female genitals. It's the same.
Right. So again, I feel like that's creating a two-sided coin on a spectrum, because I have had I've had my surgery, just to be clear, but I don't.
So you're an AGP.
I don't. No, I'm not. I'm not an AGP because well, hold on a second.
An anatomical AGP.
Hold on a second, because I don't regret it.
It's not an insult. It's not an insult, dude. It's not. Okay. I'm not saying you regret it. I'm saying you did that because you've got.
I'm trying to respond, and I need you to just. I'm trying to respond. I don't regret it, but I also don't obsess over it. I'm not sitting there constantly touching myself. I'm not looking at it and saying, "Oh, I'm a woman. I'm a woman." No, what it is that it was the treatment. And again, I understand where you're coming from, but I also don't agree with you that what I said is incorrect, because there's several documentaries, one of which is Through the Looking Glass. And then there's a doctor, I think Dr. Abed or Dr. Ahmed or something. I'm sorry, it's on YouTube. And he specifically states this. So I do agree with some of your points, and I see where you're coming from with a lot of it. But again, you're a self-admitted AGP, you're autistic, you're attracted to women, and you admitted that you rushed into it. And I feel like you might reach more people if you leave out the part that, you don't think trans is real at all, because that's not really your call to make for other people. I think if you aided and added standards that would better help people such as yourself who were taken down that route incorrectly, I think that might.
Claims on that I haven't said, in all fairness. So
I thought you said you rushed it because you were only socially transitioned for 3 weeks before you went to meds.
Well, surgery was like 3.5 years. What are you talking about?
Right. I didn't say you rushed surgery, hon. I just said you rushed your transition a bit. You said you rushed medication.
I suppose everything was rushed. That is one of my claims. And I am.
And I'm not.
Hope, can I just say one thing though? I don't think that Ritchie rushed anything. I think it was the medical team that he had. And we do see this a lot, that like there's people on this app that we've talked to that had one meeting with the doctor and they were prescribed medication. And I don't think that they, correctly diagnose a lot of these people with autism or any of that stuff. There's no searching for any of that.
And I've stated I don't agree with that type of. I don't agree with that type of treatment,
for some quote unquote transitioners. The reason it works is because They are autogynephiles, and there are different offshoots of autogynephilia. Trans is just a polite rebranding of this. And what happens is when they fulfill their needs that are met, they've got no more distress. They don't obsess about not having the genitals. And in fact, the true trans, the most dysphoric ones, if you really want to boil it down on a scientific view, are actually the anatomical autogynephiles, because they need to have a body changed. So
I mean, I guess if that's how,
HSTS
yeah.
would not be interested in bottom surgery if they are doing it for homosexual motivations, because they like their junk down below and they want to engage with that with other people, because that they have behavioral autogynephilia, where they're more interested in the role, they're more interested in being seen as that woman in the relationship. That is one offshoot. But what you have is you had a desire to change your male genitals into a character of female genitals so you could fulfill your anatomical desire, right? That is AGP. It's not an insult, dude.
But it's not an anatomical desire. It was a distress that was caused by an organ. It wasn't a desire. It was a distress. And I think that that's the difference. I didn't desire to have a vagina. I was distressed by my penis.
Look, I am distressed. I don't have a Ferrari, but I do desire a Ferrari. Does that make sense?
No, it doesn't. And that's why I think you're disingenuous.
No, you need me to be disingenuous because you don't accept this narrative.
But I
because you
don't need
haven't heard it
anything.
like this.
But I don't need
So-
anything, and I'll tell you why.
You do, because you came up here to say this. And by the way,
I
I've
was
already
asked to come up here. I'm content. You're still miserable. So I think maybe there are parts that you're holding on to that are causing you to have this. That's what I'm saying.
By
You're
the way,
labeling
go fuck
everybody.
yourself.
You're labeling
You're just coming
everybody
up
with
here
what
saying that I'm miserable. Yeah, quite rightly so, dude.
absolutely
yourself.
quite rightly so. And that's why I think that you should be
you're
advocating
an
for these.
anatomical AGP who is coping at this new information. It's
I'm
gonna
not.
take a few days to set in. If you do the research, if you read Anne Lawrence, you will find yourself in that, and you will shit yourself at first, because you have got this connotation. It means this sexualized pervert, right? But you know what? Some men are perverts. At the end of the day, some men are, but you may not be. But it doesn't mean you don't have AGP.
Right. I just, I think working on those standards is great, because the way that the medical system works, it really doesn't help trans people or people such as yourself who fall into it, because it is focused on affirming, it is focused on money, it is focused on dismissing
it's not you
what's
you
the
don't
word
want
that's
this to be true, so you're looking for either dismiss me or the claim. What I'm saying is the most dysphoric individuals are the ones who have got anatomical autogynephilia, and that is who surgery works for.
Right. So we're saying, right. So you would say that an anatomical AGP is what I would call a true transsexual. I'm not saying that there's an inherent negative to it. We're saying the same exact thing. You're using the term anatomical autogynephile. I'm using the term, and I'm using the term true trans. So if I am an anatomical AGP, I'm okay with that. I'm just going to call myself truly transgender, because the actual treatments.
The sexologists recommend, and this is why I don't agree with their output, that the anatomical autogynephiles are probably better off having surgery and hormones. That's their final recommendation. So the theory itself is in support of medicalization. I've got my own views, but I'm not going to stand out here and give other opinions that aren't really needed. But you are. When I'm calling you an AGP, you've got in your head that it's a cross-dressing.
No, I don't. That's the disconnect. Is I don't.
You do.
I don't.
You do. You've got a very negative view on it. You think it's some sort of cook theory and it doesn't apply to you. But quite frankly, you've been told a lot of negative things about that term, and it's got a really poor connotation. So when you hear that, it sounds like I'm insulting you. I'm not. I'm just saying.
Again, I don't think you're insulting me, and I don't. like I don't want you to go forth in the conversation thinking that. I just my recommendation is that when detransitioners say I was abused by the medical system, and then they follow it up with transgender isn't real, it presents a case that you're bitter. And you may not be bitter. I think that you may go a little bit further if you leave off that last part and instead, you don't have to take this advice at all, but instead focus on making the constraints and the standards for accessing this care that people say that they need, right? Not everybody needs it.
Like,
But
you're
if you
projecting,
focus
that's
on
not
making
exactly
those
what I've said
standards
ever.
so tight
Never.
that
Wait,
the people
can
who
I just
shouldn't be
jump in?
getting it,
Sorry.
yeah,
Can we just do one at a time? Because no one can pick it up when we all talk. So if we just do one at a time and then
yeah.
hope you finish your
Yeah,
point and then
sorry about
Richie
that.
jump back in. It's fine. It's not like X or Discord where the sound isolates for voices. It just kind of blurs into the one noise.
Really quick, I just have a question. You said, that he sounds bitter, and I can understand that. I mean, he had OCD, he has autism, like he has all of these things, but nobody helped him with that. It was immediately you're trans, and then for 5 years up until he had surgery, they wouldn't listen.
Yes, and they should have.
And
Danielle,
I think he has a right to be bitter.
I'm not
because of
saying he
that.
doesn't have a right to be bitter. Listen, like I said when I first came up here, all of these detransitioners, especially the ones like Ritchie who have, had their surgeries, they have every right to be bitter and angry and furious.
Yeah.
And they have every right to fight against the system. All I'm suggesting is that when they follow up, I was abused by this treatment, with the idea that trans people aren't real and nobody should be getting the treatment at all and it doesn't exist, it takes away from your core message because it makes it look.
Well, literally adding that on to what I've said, and I've never said.
I'm not
any
talking
of
about
that.
you specifically.
So
I'm
why are
talking
you
about.
bringing it up with me, dude? Like, what's the fucking point?
I feel like I don't know.
No, seriously, why would you bring it up if I'm not doing it? You
I'm
say
bringing it up
talk
because
like this, but you can't talk like this. It's all about.
No, that's
you
not
don't
what
like
it is.
What I'm saying.
I'm bringing it up because you did kind of mention that you don't believe trans should be treated, or you don't believe that trans is trans. Everybody's this. Like, do you believe hormone therapy should be available for anybody?
Excuse me? Like, in what context? Like,
do you believe anybody should be able to transition?
No.
Well, there you go. That's what I mean.
Well, that could include a fucking murdering psychopathic schizophrenic, for all you know. Should they transition?
Richie,
of course not.
PC, please.
Yeah, that's I'm gonna drop down, Game Michael. Thank you for letting me up. I don't think this will be productive. I'm sorry, hun. But thank you for letting me up. Thank you, Danielle. And I will talk to you guys soon. Richie, I wish you the best.
Thanks. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Told you about back.
Yeah, it's fine. That's why I'm kind of policing your language. I hate policing the language, but ultimately,
I know I should be able to. Yeah.
If I don't TikTok, we'll get butthurt.
I saw Kylie in requests. Oh, he's not there anymore. I was kind of hesitant.
Yeah, I believe Kylie was probably coming up to back up Hope, and that's why I put the comment in saying I'm not letting anyone up. That's just coming up for drama. But Kylie, if you're not coming up for drama and you want to have a discussion, please feel free to request, but leave your insults and ad homs into the comments.
I think, yeah, and I think both sides are very passionate. Like I can see where Hope is coming from on his side because, he is trans and has no regrets and all that. But I think I definitely am obviously siding on the side of Ritchie because I do think that so many people do get pushed into transitioning when really there's other stuff that's underlying that needs to be addressed. And the fact that a lot of people can just go in and even minors can go in and get this medication or surgeries without, it just blows my mind. I don't know.
Yep, you and me both.
Yeah. I am really interested in this.
Listen, like, what's annoying is I get come out with all these different like sort of just juxtapositions. Well, what about this? What is your belief in this? And it's all to get this aha moment so I can defeat you. And it's very like disingenuous, if I'm honest. And also, like, why would you bring up what detransitioners are saying? I'm not the representative of all detransitioners. I am Ritchie, the someone who has detransitioned. What purpose does it bring up in an argument to say other people do it irresponsibly and you should do it like this when I'm not doing it and they've admitted that? What's the point? It's to derail, it's to make you, it's to backfoot you, it's to get you wound up, and it works sometimes. So I do respond with bites. And at the end of the day, like, don't piss on my shoes and tell us it's raining. Do you know what I mean? I've been down this fucking rodeo a few times, and I know clearly what the games are. I'm not always great at handling them. I'm not good at conflict in general. So,
well, I think like you're both of you are passionate in different ways. I thought it was going to be more calm when Hope came up. I didn't realize, but I think that you have every right to say and think and do
and the
all
shit
of
about
the
saying
things.
don't be bitter and like I'm glad you reinforced that about the whole. Well, why shouldn't anyone be bitter? And it's like,
Yeah.
well, they're saying that, they want to ban it for everyone else. Well, other people might be. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's just like I can't control what other people do, but don't come in with these new rules and tell me how I must do it. It's like imagine you left like Christianity and the priest comes out and says, I hear you talking shite about our religion. I would like you to phrase it a bit better there and use our Lord's name in vain and don't be a blasphemous fiend there.
Nobody the
Fuck
Irish
off.
accent.
Yeah, I was gonna say, wow, that was really good. Yeah, no, I'm with you. I think you have every right to be bitter and angry, and I'm with you. And same with Michael. Like I'll do whatever I can to help
Yeah.
back and show up for the things and write the letters and all of
I
that stuff.
I also I appreciate there was a nice comment there about appreciate the militant stance, and that's what I get viewed at. I get viewed as radical because I hold my opinion and I don't let people gaslight me, and I don't let them play these stupid language games. And
Yeah.
it's just like I'm not putting up with it, dude.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I
No, I
get
don't
that
blame
also.
you.
I must say you are kind of more hard stance than I am.
I'm very aggressive because I'm tired of this shit, dude. I've been doing this for 4 years, right?
That's what I was
I have
just
had
gonna
many
say.
of these conversations.
I'm still a noob when it comes to this, so maybe give me 4 more years
It's all
Richie
and
right.
had bottom
I'll be screaming
surgery.
at people. And I
Sorry.
always say this to people, Daniel, I am one of the lucky ones in the context of
Yeah,
it.
you
I
are.
really am. I didn't have any surgery. I might have been medicated for 5 years, but my body parts are still intact, still functional.
Thank God.
Fair enough, I need to get some corrective surgery for gynecomastia. But that's probably about the most extreme thing that I'll need to do.
Can I just say, I did say Anne Lawrence earlier, yeah, Crystal. Can I just say, about 63% of men have gynecomastia. If you look around, the amount of men that have got like full on breasts, it's insane, dude. Like when you, especially where I am, no one cares, man. It's just,
I know
yeah.
I'm doing it more for vanity than for anything.
Oh well, I mean, you can do it's your body, your choice, right? You can do
Yeah,
whatever the hell you like. I don't. That
it,
doesn't
it's
impact me what you do. But
it's more
I
vanity
just,
because sorry.
I'm very anti-surgery.
Well,
Is my stance. I don't want to go
I
back to the
understand
butchers.
why though. But because I'm doing the gym, so everything else is slimming down. So I want that to reflect the work
Good
that
on
I'm
you.
putting in. Um, you know, putting on going from 8.5 stone to 15 stone in 1 year was dramatic for my body, and my body's now paying for it after 5 years of being medicated. So I now need to get back into shape and lose some of that fucking weight that was put on me by the hormones. But yeah, I'm doing it for vanity. I'm not doing it because I think it's part of my detransition. It's merely because I just want to look better.
Thanks, Geordie Poet.
Can I just go back to the church thing real quick? Because Richie, you said about, you know, when you were talking about religion there, like in your Irish accent a few seconds ago. Could you imagine if church representatives said, like, yes, some of these children were harmed and that's horrible, but there's children out there who were abused and they're not complaining about it. They haven't reported it, so it's not all bad. Do you think that
Right.
society would have accepted that?
Absolutely not.
That's the thing. It's like, okay, right, there's a couple out there who are just moving on with their lives after the irreparable harm that has happened. Does that change the fact that what you're doing is so absolutely wrong
Hey,
and irreversible to the vast majority? No, it doesn't change that.
I know that priest utterly and totally destroyed you in your childhood, but can you not be bitter about it? And can you be a bit kinder for the people whose childhood wasn't destroyed by
Yeah,
that
you're
priest?
ruining mass on Sunday for the rest of us. Come on now. Can you just shut
Yeah,
up?
wait,
Stop being bitter.
bastard.
No, society wouldn't have accepted that. What they would have gone, yeah, I hear what you're saying, but what you've actually done in the harm, yeah, we can't look past that.
Yeah.
There's just so
Just
many
adding-
parallels. There's really a lot of parallels. Sorry, Richie.
That's fine. I'm just like people call us radical. I'm just like fucked off with the whole thing. I'm like fuck it.
Malzo, just really quick to add on to your point. The point with the church is that, you know, the institution itself became responsible for what the adults were doing. When we're talking about the medical industry, we're talking about doctors and physicians. When people go in, whether it be for mental health care or physical health care, the responsibility is on the doctor to figure things out, to dig a little bit deeper, to do these things, and not to just rush into a medical diagnosis. But that's what is happening, and this is what's happening with, you know, transition. It is a rush diagnosis. It is a rush to put you on medications. And when you trust your doctors and physicians to know what they're doing and supposed to have your best, you know, their best intentions with regards to providing you that medical care, and they're not, because it's so rushed and we're going to do this and we're going to make this much money. They don't care about the patients. So the responsibility to me here is mainly on the medical community and the doctors pushing this. You know, yes, as adults, we have a responsibility, you know, to a certain extent to look into things, but we're supposed to be trusting professionals that are supposed to know what they're doing and what's the best way to help you through whatever it is you have mentally or physically going on.
I mean,
So
it's
I
the same
find
reason
it's a
why
problem.
there are like you don't give a gun to somebody with
Pew pew.
schizophrenia. Are you not allowed to say that?
No, it needs to be pew pew.
Fucking hell, dude.
Yeah. I'm going to send you, when we do our roundtable discussion, I'm going to send you a list of bannable words.
Oh yeah, I'm surprised they've only been banned once.
TikTok is a very censored platform, unfortunately.
That's all I wanted to say, is that I do blame the medical community. They're supposed to be the ones responsible. And we have, you know, when we look at police officers or any other, you know, position that has authority, they have the higher responsibility to make sure that what they're doing is going to be helpful. That's why the Hippocratic Oath is to first do no harm, and gender confirming care is nothing but harm 100% of the time.
And I'd like to point out that there's thousands of accounts of AGPs on TikTok parading around in lingerie with their bits and pieces hanging out, but Richie can't say the real word for pew pew.
Yep. Yep. Or that TikToker that we seen wearing a diaper laying in a fucking what they call where you put babies, a
Crib?
cot, a crib, a cot, whatever.
Yeah.
Haram.
Yep.
But,
Madness.
yeah. Is anybody else any questions? I think this might be a sweet spot to wrap up. My voice is also going hoarse, and I need to get to the shop before it shuts, which is very soon.
Anyone wants to try take a swing at the king, you better not miss. Come forward.
Oh.
And he is referring to me, guys, just so that you are all aware.
Whatever.
Just saying, bitch. My platform.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to think if I have any other questions, but like, to be honest, I've been following Richie for that long. I know his answer to pretty much everything at this point.
Well, see, I thought I knew quite a lot about him also, and then he gave me his stance on AGP, and it baffled me the fuck
That's a
all the
new
way
one.
off. Like,
To be fair, that is a
and
new
this
one,
is why
yeah.
I want to hold a full motherfucking live dedicated to that subject, because, like, I mean, I was always like, nah, I'm not an AGP, I'm gay, whatever, whatever. And then he's just straight up like, Michael, you're an AGP. Bitch!
Michael's learning things about himself today.
I think
Right.
your lack of defensiveness in that is very good as well, because I think you're at least entertaining and understanding through your own history how that could be possible. And I think you're not resistant to the idea,
Oh,
but I think it was still shocking. It was still new information
yeah.
because you have to check that with the other rules about, AGP bad, right? It's like, well, actually, it's not. It's like saying men equals bad when saying, and no one wants to call themselves a man because all men are bad. No, there is a percentage of men who are vile.
Mm,
There are a percentage of AGPs who are vile. It just so happens that paraphilic disorders tend to be a lot more obvious. And
yeah.
that's what this is, a paraphilic disorder. Because at the end of the day, there is nothing normal about a man wanting to mutilate or have their body changed in any way, shape, or
Mhm.
form, nor is it normal for that to be agreed upon as a realistic treatment.
Yeah, well, when you explain, obviously, I'm still learning about the AGP subject. I've just kind of seen that there's kind of subcategories within the AGP, and when I read behavioural, I'm like, oh, oh shit,
Uh-oh.
oh
Uh-oh.
shit, because
Uh-oh.
part of the transitioning is that you do take on these stereotypical behaviors that are associated with
Yeah,
females, and
you
I
got it
done that.
already.
I did
He's
do
a
that,
smart boy.
and I'm like, shit.
W. Michael. W. Michael.
So it's something that is, and I am always one to challenge my opinion. I think challenging of opinions is growth in knowledge. So yeah, that's why I'm like, right, well, we need to hold this live because I need to now psychoanalyze myself and see if I was actually an AGP, and if I was, then that's a whole new
Well,
type of therapy that
so
I need to look into.
you've got to think of it as, it's like, what? So this means I'm a man, therefore man what? Well, actually, there's a lot of different types of men. There's a lot of different ways of being a man. Same with the AGP. There are lots of different facets to it. It isn't, it gets, because the trans community, especially in the autogynephiles in the W Path Association, who put through Standards of Care 7 to push out AGP is pseudoscience, which is BS. And Blanchard and Bailey and all them got their reputation ruined because of it. That's another matter of fact, by the way. Fuck, I keep going on these rants, and it's gonna kill us. But because I keep forgetting. But no, it's not a new thing. It's an old theory, and it's got a lot of resurgence in the sexology sector, and because a lot of people are kind of realizing that is the only sort of, even though it is pseudoscientific in some parts, it's the only measurable basis for it, and that is based on arousal situations, which can be measured and has been measured. And some of the more recent findings done by modern day sexologists are looking at those arousal patterns with self-identified HSTS and AGPs and finding it's exactly the same. There is no extreme as it once was. So therefore, it is all part of the same thing. It's just people instantly think HSTS equals one of the good ones, safe. And it's because their autogynephilia manifests in same-sex relationships. And because of that, they're not a threat to women, so they're deemed as safe. However, they can be just as insistent and damaging as a heterosexual acting autogynephile, because they all seek validation. They will all breach boundaries, you know? I could go on about this forever, and I feel like I may have burned a few people out already.
No, no,
This-
no.
No.
Mike,
I
sorry,
actually-
Danielle, real quick. Michael, I'm so sorry. Michael, you have a couple of guest requests. Do you want to get them to say in the comments if they have a question to ask Ritchie, or?
Yes, please, guys. In the guest requests, if you can let me know if you actually have a question. Because I do. If not, please remove your requests. Because I do want to wrap up, but I also don't want to take away anybody's ability to ask a question.
So I do have a question. Somebody asked me, so with the trans ideology and the harm that's coming to women, what do you think, if at all, there is harm being done to men in this?
Just the paraphilic men like me and stuff who have been hurt in its name, and I think there's a big problem with grooming, and there's a new generation of issues with the DIY hormone, the blackmail stuff. It's all much worse now, but it's mainly young men are impacted in very different ways, and a lot of them are kind of blackmailed into it where they are kind of compromised. They might send a cross-dressing photo, and in their mind that might be the end of the world if the family knew, and they might be getting bribed, and there's lots of different issues there. But there's also a lot of boundary issues where I don't know, I'm seeing some really disturbing stuff, and I do worry for the young men and boys specifically. But as for men, no, not really. I think just I've seen some people with some very severe mental health issues who have been down the trans path unfairly. I think it's extremely alarming in some senses, but they're not impacted the way women are, and it's all because of gender affirmation. Because you've got to understand, an AGP needs to be validated when they've escalated to the point of cross-dressing in public. Gender affirmation is like a golden ticket to an autogynephile, because it's basically reinforcing the escalation by saying you're allowed to do this because this is who you are, etc., etc., and you have permission. And anyone who calls it out, which is the natural sort of position, that's the norm position, would be deemed as incorrect or wrong. So they continue to escalate, and it gets worse. And what ends up happening is they need the validation so much. They need to be seen as women. They need to be in the women's changing room, not because that they're going to get an erotic kick. They may well do as well. That's possible, but it could just be because they want the status of being in a women's room to validate their own transition. And this is how they've ended up in women's sports and in shelters. And this is why it overwhelmingly impacts women in a way it does not impact men. And I know some men would like to consider themselves victims, etc. But the only way men have been victimized is they have been completely disarmed to do anything about it. They have had, like, the way it went from we need protection from men to outright mocking and belittling men as this ineffective force in life. The prisons and DVs should be sending people into riots, but at the end of the day, society gives a lot less shit what happens to women than it does to men. I don't know why that is. That still scratches my head why that is, but that seems to be the case.
Yeah, and I think too. Oh, sorry.
I was just one final thing. I've noticed 100 women can have their breasts cut off because of this ideology, and there will be an outcry. But if one man expresses his regret about having his dick inverted, like me, there's a fucking outroar because it's a man, and it's very, very noticeable. It's like I can't unnotice that, which is why I try and do my best to give back to the women who have propped me up as well. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, well, and that's one thing too that really bothers me, is that if you say that you're trans, you can get, your sperm or your eggs frozen. You can get the breast reduction or the mastectomy or enhancement. You can get all of these things, but then women who actually have endometriosis or PCOS or have back pain because their breasts are too large or they're having fertility issues. Oh, well, and it's really, really frustrating for the women who actually have these functions
Yeah.
to get
In
help.
the UK,
Can I just point out, Richard, just before you respond, it literally piggybacks off Danielle's point about, the dismissal of non-trans men and women's health and fertility issues. My partner is going for his vasectomy next week. He is going to be 35 this year, and it was jumping through hoops for him to get a vasectomy at 35 years old. He's wanted it since he was 20 years old, and he's always been dismissed and told, you're too young, you don't know what your future is going to be like, you might marry, you might want children. And it's only now at nearly 35 years old that they finally settled and said, no, okay, you can have it. But we laughed and said, if he said at 20 that he thought he was a woman, that his fertility would have been just scratched off, right? Okay, no problem,
yeah.
you can have everything removed. But if you're not
Okay.
trans, all of these things just seem to be, I don't know, you have to jump through hoops to get sorted,
And you have to pay for it. I know here we have to pay outrageously because it's just not covered. But if you're trans, you get, it's not okay.
Yeah.
I think when women can't get the healthcare that we need, but if you say you're trans, it's a different story.
Yeah, my partner got the final phone call yesterday in regards to his vasectomy appointment, and I could hear the girl on the other end of the phone, and she was asking him like what his marital status is, and he says, I have a fiance, and I could hear her say, and what is her opinion on it? What is her opinion on the vasectomy? Okay, well, she doesn't want any more children. Like, what do you want from me? But like, if he was a 20-year-old man who decided he was a woman, nobody else's opinion would matter. Just the fact that he said he thought he was a woman, and there would be no sperm freezing. There would be none of that. It would just be, okay, we'll get you up on that table. Let's irreversibly change you.
I will also say, I think when it comes to women's health and young women, especially like children and adolescents, I think the palming off issues like endometriosis and PCOS that start and developing early, and using trans as a way to solve that because they may have difficult periods and they hear that testosterone will stop it, and rather than investigating what the motivations are, why, I guess, like, I can't possibly understand it, but I don't imagine any girl is happy or thrilled when they're getting periods, but I would imagine if it's painful, you'd want them to stop, right? But
yeah, I mean, I have endometriosis.
Yeah, but they're selling that to a lot of young girls to essentially stop that, and it does, because it kills the womb, it atrophies the womb, testosterone.
And autistic girls are more, sorry to interrupt you, Richie, but it's where the autism plays into it again, because autistic girls are more susceptible to falling into the ideology because they see their male counterparts at the same age not going through the pain that they could be going through with endometriosis and PCOS, and go, oh, well, the boys in my class don't go through that.
Yeah.
So maybe I just want to be a boy. But when they say I want to be a boy, it means I want to live without the pain that I'm going through right now.
Right. And a diagnosis could find out why is that, but instead it's, come right this way, sir. Wink, wink.
Yep. Oh, sorry, Bonnie, did you have your question?
Oh, sorry, Bonnie.
It's okay. I was just biding my time. So Richie, it's more again about the AGP. Did you know you were AGP before?
No one told us about it. And whenever I remember, I saw a Gyrez article, which is a UK tranny thing, right, about autogynephilia, saying it had been debunked. It's not real. It's been debunked because women have, if you apply the same standard to women, they have it too. And I was like, oh, of course, it is just pseudoscience. But, if you think you're a woman, you definitely are one. That's not pseudoscience or a belief or anything like that. Whatever. So, yeah.
So when did you realise then that you because you have said that you were an AGP, so what was that? Somebody told you that, or was that?
It was past. It was somebody who observed it, because when I first detransitioned, I was, because I've only been interested in men and was very much, I thought I was a HSTS basically, right?
Yeah.
Little did I know, I generally wasn't. And I started, somebody was very like aggressively pointing this out to me, and I was like, that can't be true. And I rejected it quite harshly. I was very, very resistant to the idea. I thought it didn't make any sense, and I believed a lot of the bullshit. And I thought this person, I was like, I couldn't understand this person's motivations. Why did they want me to think this? What possibly they could they do it for? And then really it was about 2023, 24 when I just kind of really buckled up and had a look at the material. I read Anne Lawrence's mini essay book thing, Men Trapped in Men's Bodies. I read Bailey, I read Blanchard, their initial papers on autogynephilia in 89. I read the subsequent research, and then I started connecting with the sort of, I would call it a self-aware AGP community. And I was just like, oh, holy shit, holy fuck. And then I had the same sort of realization that Michael had before with the behavioral thing, because I had this in my head. It means fetishistic cross-dressing man in the corner in a thrilly underwear.
Yeah.
Like that's what I viewed it as. But actually, that's transvestic fetishism, which can co-occur in autogynephilia, by the way. But it's not the same thing. There is a general misuse of the term, and essentially what happens is people assume when you call them an AGP that they're doing this for sexual arousal
Yeah.
reasons. But the reality is sexual arousal does play a part in everyone's story, because at one point they had a developing sexuality. They didn't not ever investigate their own sexuality, if that makes sense. Sexuality, sorry.
Okay.
They all would have explored themselves, and they would have ingrained this in to their development. That didn't happen in isolation, and it's just they can't link the two together. But there are people who do have situational sort of paraphilias, and the thing with things like paraphilias like autogynephilia, they're very much inverted on the individual themselves, so they don't really need any external stimuli. Whereas if you have, like, say, an external paraphilia like voyeurism, where
Yeah.
you need to like show yourself, that involves the involvement of others, whereas this is very self-involved. And because of that, they don't get a sort of a kick out of going into a woman's space. What it is they get the kick out of just achieving that generally in life, that it's not like they're doing it for arousal reason. It's like they have reached that point of escalation. I think the conversation I had with someone else about this is, it's like, what did they call it? The like trial balloons going in the air, and the way to see if it gets shot down, and if it doesn't, they go again, and then they put another one up in the air, and if they pass the next step, they'll go even further, and it's all about that continuing escalation. So sorry, I've totally went off on track. Sorry,
No,
Vinny.
you're okay. So, would you then say that an AGP is not as bad as what people say they are then?
Yeah, I think there's a fundamental misunderstanding on
Yeah.
what it means, but that's not to say that they're not men and male. Like, there are many, many great men, but it only takes one or two to
Yeah.
know that you don't want them in the like with the chickens, right?
Yeah.
It's the same with the AGPs. You can't guarantee that you're not. You can't vouch for anyone else. You can say that you're great and it's harmless and you're not impacting anyone, and that will be the case for quite a few of them. And that's a talking point that really hasn't really settled in. That some of because the fundamental part is no male should be in a female space is a general sort of thing that I really don't agree on. Doesn't matter how small and petite you think you are, you don't belong there. Otherwise,
Yeah.
small, petite, twinky men do too, right? So I don't believe that. However, in terms of harm and stuff and being like, you've got to keep in mind about 1 in 5 autogynephiles will have auto PDF failure as well, which is a massive concurrent one. So there's a few offshoots. Some of these offshoots overlap. So you've got transvestitism, which is the arousal of clothes. You've got the behavioural autogynephilia, which is all about fitting into the social role and being accepted and affirmed in that way. Again, might not be inherently arousing or anything like that. It's not about that. It's about the validation of that situation. It's about getting past that next balloon point and not getting it shot down so you can continue going on in that fashion. And a lot of people just become so normal at it that they forget about the balloons and they think, well, I'm just living my life now. I'm fully integrated. I'm like, yeah, you're fully escalated. That's what's happened.
Yeah.
You went full escalation. And it doesn't need to be arousal for it to escalate as well. And that's the thing that other people need to get in the head.
It's very interesting. It really is to hear this side of it, as opposed to just the side where they are sexually aroused by the women's clothes and stuff like that. You know.
Well, I've hoodwinked Ritchie into doing another live, a roundtable live for AGP discussion, so that we can get more educated around it. Because me and Danielle both were so absolutely bloody baffled to hear this point of view, and I know that there were a couple of people in the comments that were also baffled to hear this point of view and interested to learn some more on it. So we do have the detransitioner event coming up though, so it won't be for a few weeks at least until both of us kind of get back into the system.
Thanks very much, Richie, for answering my questions. As I say, I'm kind of interested. It's because it has always been the way I've taken it as a bad thing, and not necessarily so.
I mean, it is a bad thing if it takes over your life.
I suppose.
And I think it depends. I do think generally it is a net negative for individuals.
Yeah, but thanks for answering my questions anyway, and I'll let you go, guys. I'll drop back down.
Hi, Bonnie.
Thank you, Bonnie.
Good to see you.
Yeah, you too, Danielle. See you later.
Bye, love.
Bye.
Ritchie, I'm going to drop down as well. It was so amazing to get to talk to you, and I really appreciate you doing this with us. I can't wait for the next time. I'm going to have all kinds of questions for you. I'm going to do some research as well, because you just blew my mind when you said that earlier. I think you did my goals.
It's a fun rabbit hole. If you look at one of my interviews with Navel Gaze on YouTube, very small, it hasn't been seen by many. I talked about it a little bit more on there, and that channel does too. So it's a good place to start.
Okay. Yeah, I watched the one on heretics last night. So.
Oh yeah. That's my most well watched one, I think.
Yeah,
So.
well, I've seen other ones too, but I wanted to, watch something last night before today. But thank you so much for giving us your time, and I really enjoyed this conversation.
Absolutely.
All right.
Can I just say, Daniela, love you. I just want to tell Ritchie.
My Irish sister. All right.
Love you,
Bye, guys.
Bye, Daniela.
Love you.
I have thoroughly enjoyed being a poster girl, and Ritchie, don't be an ass and follow me on Twitter. Okay, love you.
What's your ad? Is it still Molotov?
Oh, it's same as here, yeah.
I'll follow you. Don't you worry.
Darling.
There you go.
And that is my clout chasing manager, everybody.
I am Michael's manager.
Oh, very nice.
How much are we earning off him?
No money. No money has been made off Michael.
Your payment is having the pleasure of me visit you. That's what your payment is.
Yes, I'll see you in a couple of weeks.
Can I have it?
Thanks, Rose.
Yes, but Ritchie, thank you so much for coming up and sharing your story, explaining to people that this is happening not just to children but to adults also, where the vulnerabilities are being preyed on instead of actually being looked at. So I appreciate you. And you sound like you're sitting at the bottom of the ocean.
Oh shit! Sorry, is that better?
Yes,
surfaced?
You're back.
There we are. Okay. Yeah, I'm like an autist with a very like determined special interest, and can be a bit of a deadly combination. But thanks Michael for hosting us and having us, and all the people who have said really nice things. I'm too much of a boomer. I don't know TikToks. I can't respond to you all, but thank you very much. I appreciate the comments.
And on a personal note, thank you for saving my life.
Oh, bless you, Michael. Bless you. You saved it yourself, though. You did that.
I know, but that conversation that we had, I always tell people, obviously not the in-depth side of it, but I always let people know that part of my story includes you, because if it wasn't
bless
for
you.
meeting you, then I probably would have went ahead with the surgery, because you said to me that obviously you explained that you had regret, instant regret waking up, and the words that you said to me was, if there's any advice that I can give you, is if you have doubts, do not get the surgery, because doubts is easier to live with than regret.
Yep.
And that, even nearly a year later, still rings into my head.
Yeah, you've mentioned Ritchie a lot over the last nearly a year.
Thanks. Appreciate that. I really do.
Yeah,
I'm glad it helped.
It did a lot. So never stop speaking.
Yep.
Even if you go on a holiday,
Stop the trickery.
Fuck the trickery.
Mm-hmm.
Right,
I mean, they can do what I want. They just need to be informed. They deserve. Some of my best friends and people I've really loved have all been trans or whatever, or AGP, whatever, same thing, and they don't deserve it. Some of them are really vicious because they need the validation, etc., and whatever, and they are some horrible people online. But a lot of these people do not deserve what they get half the time. They just do not deserve it, and they need to know.
Yeah,
I'm not going to stop them, but
absolutely
they need
agree.
to know.
Absolutely agree with you. 100%. But I am going to wrap up. I need to get to the shop before it closes in like 20 minutes.
Yeah, okay.
But again, Richie, I'll hopefully see you and get to meet you next week at the convention.
Of course, yeah, of course. Yeah, I'll see you then.
Thank you, Dylan.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thanks, Ritchie.
Bye.
Do you want me to kick you? Oh, no, you know how to
Me?
do that. Right. I'm going to kick you anyway.
Okay, but yeah, I want my fridge magnet.
Yeah, you'll get your
Bye.
fridge magnet from an agate.
Bye.
Right, guys, thank you so much for tuning in again. Hopefully me and Danielle can bring you more stories, detransitioner awareness stories in the future. There's a couple of other people that I am trying to get to come on to have discussions with us also. Some insightful one. Stay tuned for the roundtable that I'll do. I'll organise with Ritchie, and Danielle will organise it. We do have a kind of list of people that we're thinking. So I'll reach out to this list, the list of people, to see if they would want to participate in the roundtable, and then we'll get dates organised, and I'll put a video out to let you know. Join me tomorrow, guys, 1 p.m. UK time. That's 1 p.m. GMT. Well, 12:30 p.m. GMT time. I am going to be in Edinburgh, and I am going to be protesting alongside other women and men, because it's National Women's Day, as we all know. However, a women's organisation that is pro-trans is marching the streets of Edinburgh with trans-identified males, saying that they should have the rights of women. So I will be there. I will have my cameras. I will be on my live, and I will be standing firmly against them, because I am not. I'm not standing for it. It's no fucking happening. Oh, sorry, Wishy Washy, because of your account name. I took that wrongly. If you want to message me what your question is, then I can definitely put it over to him privately, and he can send me a message. I know he'll reply back to my message anyway with a response for you. So feel free to just send me a message on here. But yes, guys, so tomorrow, 12:30 GMT, I will be live. We'll be protesting in the streets of Edinburgh. So please drop us a follow on this account. This is the account that we'll go live on. And yeah, we will we will put them to rights because it's not fucking on all of the days in the year they want to do International Women's Day. Fuck all the way off to the left-hand side. Thank you very much. And if you care to know, I shall be going to Kiki in the comments on Envy. So please join me over there. If we go over together, please do a Michael raid or a gay raid, whatever one you prefer. It is in this account. Envy is on this account. So let's go over there and I will see you all there. Thank you so much, everybody.